He just suddenly molded Dao. Emo was a little surprised. He thought Dao vindication would be very hard, but after he resolutely severed Dao, he vindicated Dao. If he was any bit reluctant, he wouldn't be able to vindicate the Dao he needed. Feeling his powerful strength and the clear world laws, Emo knew he needed to go into solitary cultivation and organize what he had learned, as well as the follow-up cultivation method of 3 birth chant in Dao vindication. After Dao vindication, it was mainly about learning Dao, but it didn't mean you didn't need cultivation method. Without it, your cultivation couldn't progress. Emo didn't know how much time he used to vindicate Dao. When he called Shadowless and Small Ginseng, Emo realized that despite seeming like a short time, it had been more than 10 years. Emo went into solitary cultivation again. Time flew by, but Emo knew Dao molding even clearer. There was Dao molding Divine Emperor, Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor, and Dao Actualization Divine Emperor after Immortal Emperor. After reaching Dao Actualization Divine Emperor, you could enter the second stage. Dao Essence Divine Emperor was the second stage powerful being. In order to Dao Essence Divine Emperor, it's purely about learning and stacking of resources. Even if you're extremely smart, you wouldn't be able to achieve Dao Essence. Even if you have mountains of resources, if you don't have great learning capabilities, you couldn't achieve Dao Essence. It was because of this that even in the easy-to-vindicate Dao God Necropolis domain, Dao Essence Divine Emperor were extremely rare. Each Dao Essence Divine Emperor was extremely powerful and unique. As he derived, Emo felt the Dao he molded was different to ordinary Dao molding Divine Emperor. Although his power increased infinitely, he only vindicated a part of the Chaos Dao. Only when he reached primordial chaos would he perfect his Dao. Far away from Emo in the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, Mu Xiaoyun got up in surprise and joy. She reached Great Unity Immortal. Xiaoyun, you reached Great Unity Immortal? Luo Biyue came over. Mu Xiaoyun opened the restriction and said with a face of joy, "Yeah, Sister Biyue. I feel cultivating here is better than the small heaven domain. My immortal essence is also denser. Xiaoyun, we're cultivating with God's spirit chi here. Of course our power would be stronger. You need to be used to saying God essence. Immortal essence isn't this dense." Luo Biyue said happily. Mu Xiaoyun nodded. If I was still at the small heaven domain, I would at most be abstruse immortal middle stage. If I continue at this speed, it wouldn't be long until I reach Immortal Emperor. Luo Biyue knew what Mu Xiaoyun thought and said, "Xiaoyun, I know you want to bring up your cultivation level fast, but you must know that if you rush cultivation, it will be detrimental. Even with how I'm recovering my cultivation level, I'm doing it in an orderly fashion. Later on, cultivation isn't just about taking in more essence chi, it's also about learning and enlightenments." Mu Xiaoyun quickly answered, "I know, Sister Biyue." Just when Luo Biyue wanted to talk, a few distant bells sounded. She looked at the direction and said, "There must be something at Immortal Goddess Peak. It has nothing to do with us. Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect sounds like a big sect, but they're so stingy. If Master didn't take us in, we would have been dead already. Sister Biyue, I want to find a place to test my power." Mu Xiaoyun asked. "Okay, as long as we don't leave Lanyi Peak. No matter how arrogant those people are, they wouldn't come to our peak." Luo Biyue also wanted to see how Mu Xiaoyun was after reaching Great Unity Immortal. Mu Xiaoyun's cultivation method was a top-notch cultivation method that even her master felt was good. Other than learning the beauty cultivation method of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, she didn't need to change anything. "It's good that both of you are here. You don't need to go test your cultivation level. There's something big in the sect. Come with me to Immortal Goddess Palace." Lan Qilan said softly. Seeing their master come, the two quickly bowed. "Master, are we going too?" "Xiaoyun," Luo Biyue said hesitantly. Lan Qilan understood, of course. They were hiding in Lanyi Peak as they didn't want to go out and get abused by other disciples. Lan Qilan smiled. "It's fine coming with me this time. Don't go to other places after the Immortal Range Palace. Just come back here directly. This thing is very serious. All the direct sect members of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect must participate, so you guys must come too." "Yes, Master," Luo Biyue and Mu Xiaoyun quickly said. The tallest peak in Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was the Immortal Goddess Peak, and the biggest palace was the Ice God Palace. The distant bell sound spread across the sect. Countless Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect members flew towards the palace. The two knew they had little status here, so they followed their master closely. Dang! When the final bell sounded, almost all the sect members were here. There were at least more than 1,000 sect members here. There was indeed no ugly women in the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Mu Xiaoyun couldn't see through their power level, but in this palace, she felt she was the weakest. At the very top sat a purple-robed woman. Mu Xiaoyun just snuck a glance at her and felt a powerful spirit sense fall on her. She quickly looked down. The palace was silent. The purple-robed woman scanned the sect members and said slowly, "Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect had been in the Divine Tao realm for countless years and have even become the most powerful and respected sect in the Divine Tao realm. We're respected because our sect once saved the Divine Tao realm, but also because of our power. The Divine Tao realm is broken and Tao vindication is getting harder and harder. Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect is far better than other sects, but we're still facing such trouble. 100 years ago, our Saint Ji left the sect and went to God Necropolis domain to seek Tao. However, 20 years ago, her soul lamp became extremely dim, and these few days it's about to go out." The quiet palace finally erupted in chatter. A high-status divine emperor asked desperately, "In the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, the saint's soul lamp must always remain lit. If it was annihilated, it would mean that the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was going to decline. So every saint of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect would have escape means even if they were about to be killed. At the very least, their essence spirit would be able to escape." Luo Biyue and Mu Xiaoyun could tell this purple-robed woman's voice was a bit coarse, and she was the sect leader that let them stay. After the chatter went down a bit, the purple-robed woman said again, "I think everyone knows why the immortal range bell was rung." The palace fell silent. Everyone realized that it was the day to choose a new saint and light up the saint's soul lamp again. The saint had very unique status in the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, but she had unique responsibilities. She must be ready to sacrifice for the sect at any time. She lived and died for the sect. The purple-robed woman sighed, "We have plenty of sect members, but it's very hard to find one with saint talent." Sect leader, "In terms of talent, we really do have one. Her talent is even better than Saint Jishi." A gray-robed woman got up and said. The sect leader's face changed as she said, "Yunhuai? Which one?" The gray-robed woman quickly said, "Out of the two disciples Qilin Martial Sister took in, there's one called Mu Xiaoyun. She reached Great Unity Immortal from Abstruse Immortal Primary Stage in 20 years. Such cultivation speed is extremely hard to find even in the Divine Tao realm. This Yunhuai woman was the one who looked at Mu Xiaoyun with killing intent. Mu Xiaoyun didn't understand why this Yunhuai always tried to sabotage her. Xianxia couldn't resist it and got up, "Sect leader. Xiaoyun is only Great Unity Immortal Cultivation level, and she has married someone before. How can she be saint?" "Martial Sister Yunhuai, you said before that Xiaoyun lost her virginity and didn't allow her to stay in the sect. What is your intention proposing for her to be saint?" Seeing her master's desperate tone, Mu Xiaoyun knew there was something strange about this saint. Yunhuai calmly said, "Martial Sister Qilin, I thought wrong before. Sect leader already told me the ocean takes in all the rivers. Our sect had people who lost their virginity before." Lan Qilan's face went green. She knew Yunhuai was talking about her mom and martial sister, but she knew now wasn't the time to argue about this. She immediately got up and wanted to say something, but the purple-robed woman said, "Qilin, you don't get to decide this. Xiaoyun, stand out." Hearing this, Qilanqi didn't dare to say anything and sat down with a pale face. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyun quickly stood out and bowed. "Lanyi Peak Mu Xiaoyun greet sect leader." "MHM." The sect leader studied Mu Xiaoyun for a while and said, "Not bad. Dense essence qi and astounding cultivation progress. Xiaoyun, you're a sect members of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Are you willing to be our saint?" Mu Xiaoyun replied respectfully, "Sect leader. I'm already a married woman. My life goal is to cultivate successfully and go back to see my husband." The purple-robed woman frowned and asked, "Who is your husband?" Mu Xiaoyun didn't dare to hide and told her everything about Emo. The purple-robed woman said nicely, according to what you said, there's no way your husband can find the teleportation formation you left the magical continent with. It seems your husband is probably not alive anymore. The magical continent doesn't even have spirit qi. How can one cultivate Tao? Sect member only has husband in my heart. I don't dare to seek the saint position. Please see this sect leader. Mu Xiaoyun said. Lan Qilan was very worried. She could reject Yunhui, but it didn't mean she could reject the sect leader. Mu Xiaoyun was her disciple and yet dared to object to the sect leader. How dare you, Mu Xiaoyun? You're a small sect member of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, and you dare to talk to the sect leader like this. Yunhui reproached. Yunhui then said to the purple-robed woman respectfully, Lan Qilan is a Tao-molding divine emperor of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, and yet the disciples she taught are this rude. Sect leader, if our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect continues like this, it would no longer have the attributes of the number 1 divine sect. I believe many people have already forgot about the prison door mountain. Sect leader? The purple-robed woman raised her hand and looked calmly at Mu Xiaoyun. We'll do things like this. Qilan, Mu Xiaoyun is your disciple. She has no respect for elders, and it's your responsibility. Your master was extremely talented but fell to such consequence due to one decision. I hope you make your decisions wisely. Lan Qilan knew that if she dared to say anything else, she would be sent to the prison door mountain. Her master died in there, and if she went, she wouldn't be able to come back too. Mu Xiaoyun didn't dare to talk anymore too. Her master told her the story about it. The purple-robed woman waved out a bronze lamp. There were slivers of sparkles inside that could be annihilated at any time. Everyone looked at the lamp and realized that it was indeed about to go out. The purple-robed woman grabbed, and Mu Xiaoyun felt something leave her body. The purple-robed woman took out the small light in the lamp and put the thing she grabbed in the lamp. Finally, the spark went out, but the lamp lit up brightly. Lan Qilan's face changed and couldn't resist saying, Sect leader, only one sliver of spirit will is needed to light up the lamp. Why? Before Lan Qilan could finish, the purple-robed woman said coldly, Qilan, you've made many mistakes. If you do so again, then go to the prison door mountain. Yes, sect leader. Lan Qilan bowed with a pale face. The purple-robed woman then looked at Mu Xiaoyun. Xiaoyun, you're now the saint of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. You can't go back to Lanyi Peak. Stay at Immortal Range Peak. Yes, sect leader. Mu Xiaoyun's heart was cold. How could she not know now that if she resisted, her master would be thrown into the prison door sect? Without her master, she would have long been killed already. Seeing Mu Xiaoyun agree, the purple-robed woman's face eased. She looked at Yunhui and said, the previous saint is still stuck in the God Necropolis domain. You and Ruizai go have a look. Yes, sect leader. Yunhui bowed and another blue-robed woman bowed too. Master, is Xiaoyun okay? Luo Blaiyu asked immediately when they returned to Lanyi Peak. Mu Xiaoyun was already like a sister to her. She didn't want anything bad to happen to Mu Xiaoyun. Lan Qilan sighed and shook her head. Xiaoyun is fine for now, but I always have a bad feeling. It's definitely the sect leader's will for Xiaoyun to be saint. As for what the sect leader wants Xiaoyun to do, I don't know. One only needed a sliver of spirit will for the soul lamp, but the sect leader took half of Xiaoyun's soul. Lan Qilan felt this thing was very strange, but she couldn't think of why. Luo Biyue was shocked. People had 3 souls and 7 spirits. If half a soul was gone, it meant that the soul was incomplete. One couldn't achieve Tao through this. How could the saint of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect not vindicate Tao? Even if Master didn't respond, she realized that Mu Xiaoyun was not the real saint. She was just a temporary substitute. Such sect dared to call itself Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. It was insult to these words. There was nothing her master could know and nothing she could do. She could only pray that Mu Xiaoyun would be fine. In the God Necropolis domain, 10,000 kilometers from Yi Mo's solitary cultivation grounds, there was an extremely huge. Even spirit sense couldn't scan to the bottom of this fist print. There were Tao waves ravaging in the fist print. People can easily be torn to pieces by the Tao waves. Those who came to the God Necropolis domain all knew that this fist was punched out by an ancient primordial essence divine emperor. In the depth of the fist print, there was a pond filled with purple water, and above the pond floated a woman with broken yellow robes. If Yemo was here, he would recognize her to the immortal range who fought the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Her chi was very weak and seemed about to die at any time. But the purple well water below her rose up purple chi that enveloped her. Her chi was getting weaker, but her heavily injured body was getting smoother. The wounds left by the battle were already gone. Eventually the purple chi dimmed to a stop. When the purple chi completely disappeared, the life force of this woman disappeared. A few seconds later, her life force suddenly rose. The woman flipped up and stood in the air of the colorless pond. She murmured, "Where is this? How did I get here?" She soon realized she was in rags and quickly put on a new set of clothes. After this, she exclaimed in shock, "How come I don't sense the divine sect soul lamp? What is going on?" She looked at her white hand in even more shock. She moved and the nearby space was taken away. There's no connection to the soul lamp, but my cultivation level reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. What is going on? She stood dazedly in the void. She walked over the pond and landed on the side as she recollected her memories. Before, she battled a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor and they were both injured. Then, both of them saw an immortal emperor peak stage who was the one she didn't help before. That immortal emperor wanted to be the ultimate hunter behind them, so she used that idiot immortal emperor to escape. Then, she came to the primordial essence fist ditch. She wanted to fly over it, but she was too heavily injured and was brought inside by the Tao waves. Luckily, her protection laws around her were activated and let her survive. She was swept by a nearby space whirlpool and floated above a purple pond. Right, the purple pond turned her into this. What pond water could let her go from Tao Molding Divine Emperor straight to Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor? It also washed off everything related to the divine sect on her. Emo stood on the god necropolis domain surface again. The nearby ancient chi gave him less shock, but Emo felt his chi was strange. In the Golden Page world, he was definitely Tao Molding Divine Emperor, but in the god necropolis domain, he felt his chi was still at Immortal Emperor peak stage. It was at most half divine. Emo was certain that he didn't stealth his cultivation method, but his cultivation level showed at Immortal Emperor. Was the Tao he vindicated inside the Golden Page world not recognized by the outside world? In his shock, Emo raised his hand and punched out. Fist God Art Void. This was his earliest god art and had a sliver of space law. Before, he could brought about the space lethal force with killing intent, but now all the space was brought up in the fist force and the sharp killing intent gathered in the space. Thud. The sturdy space was punched out ripples, but this punch. The sturdy ground was punched out a huge ravine. This punch was no longer killing intent brining out space lethal force, but fist force bringing about space. This was far stronger than before. Emo breathed easy. Although his chi showed at Immortal Emperor, his cultivation level was completely a real Tao Molding Divine Emperor. As long as his cultivation level was there, it was fine for Emo. Without the actual power, it was pointless even if he appeared to be Primordial Essence Divine Emperor. 2 hours later, Emo stood before a huge fist ditch. He was extremely shocked. Ever since he vindicated Tao, he had a systematic understanding of laws. His god art was changing into a law god art and he punched out a huge ditch as well. This fist ditch was countless times bigger than his. His spirit sense couldn't even scan to the bottom. He didn't even know how big this fist hole was. Emo had seen many battle marks and ones more terrifying than this one outside the god necropolis domain. But Emo knew that the space here was more than 100 times stronger, and so was the ground. What shocked him the most wasn't instant second size, but the terrifying Tao wave chi inside. Even with his Tao Molding Divine Emperor spirit sense, it was grinded immediately. To be able to leave such terrifying fist hole and such terrifying Tao wave, this person was more than 100 times stronger than him. Emo's joy of vindicating Tao was long gone. He didn't know if this was left behind by Primordial Essence Divine Emperor or not. If it really was, then the terror of Primordial Essence Divine Emperor was unimaginable. One can actually cultivate to such extent and leave such a terrifying fist hole in the god necropolis domain. If it was outside, Couldn't one punch destroy half the broken divine Tao realm? Emo murmured. After saying this, Emo seemed to have grasped something, but this thing was very subtle, making it hard for him to completely grasp it. Insolent. A cold voice sounded. And then a yellow figure rose out of the fist hole. It's you? Emo took a few steps back and stared at her with vigilance. She knew this woman. She was the Tao molding divine emperor who fought with that Tao nourishment divine emperor. She was now a Tao nourishment divine emperor too. There was a sliver of shock in her eyes as she said coldly, I didn't expect a mere immortal emperor like you can not only survive in the God Necropolis domain, but also escape a Tao nourishment divine emperor. I underestimated you. Although she said this coldly, her voice was extremely pleasant. She guessed that Emo had a lot of secret, but she didn't ask. Who here didn't have secrets? Those who didn't have secrets have long turned to dust in the river of time. Emo just stared at her coldly and said nothing. Despite this woman being extremely pretty, he knew she wasn't easy to mess with. When she was still a Tao molding divine emperor, she could fight to death with a Tao nourishment divine emperor. Now that she was Tao nourishment divine emperor, who knows if she could match with Tao actualization divine emperor. Plus, his spirit sense was immediately grinded OT nothing inside, but she could fly out of the fist hole. Just from this, she was stronger than him. Emo had never fought with Tao actualization divine emperor, but he knew that it was probably a bit hard for him to beat a Tao actualization divine emperor, but it wasn't easy for Tao actualization divine emperor to beat him either. On the account of what happened before, I'll tell you something. I said you were insolent as you don't know what this place was when this punch landed. When this punch landed, this place was still the hardest place in the divine Tao realm. It was 10 times harder than now. The immortal range said coldly. Emo knew that she meant on the account of using him to escape before, however. He was still shocked by what she said. The space was 10 times tougher than now? What notion was that? That punch wouldn't even be something he could fathom. If you dare to go in the fist hole, the Tao waves could kill you at any time. Then the immortal range was turning to leave. Wait! Emo suddenly stopped her. The immortal range stopped and looked at Emo calmly. I'm saying this because you happen to help me a little bit. If you think that's saving my life and want to use that against me, then I suggest you give up that thought. Even without you, that person wouldn't be able to kill him. Emo said, use that against you? You think too highly of yourself. I just want to ask what's the way out. If you tell me, then I won't care about you using me before. Won't care? The immortal range shook her head. Don't even think about going out. Coming in the God Necropolis domain is for vindicating primordial essence. If you don't reach primordial essence divine emperor, no one wants to go out and no one can go out. The immortal range said calmly. Emo frowned and she added, those divine emperors who came in here and didn't die would go to the outskirts of the life-crippling barren restriction. Some of them have gone in. If you have the guys to go, you can ask them. I've only been in here for a few decades. But on the way to the life-crippling barren restriction, there's law Tao waves everywhere. Some are calm, but some are lethal. Countless divine emperors have died on the way there. Her last sentence was clearly to warn Emo not to go as he was only an immortal emperor. Where is it? What she didn't expect was that Emo still asked how to go. The immortal range looked at Emo speechlessly. She said it so obviously, but Emo still wanted to know how to go there. You really want to go there? The immortal range repeated. That's right. Tell me where it is and our conflict is gone. Otherwise, even when you vindicate Tao essence you will feel bad as you used an innocent person and almost got him killed. Emo said. She had never even cared about using Emo. She didn't care at all if Emo died. But now it was different. Emo brought this up and said it might affect her Tao essence. This was very sly. She didn't care about it at all and definitely wouldn't remember it at Tao essence, but now that Emo said it, her mindset might actually crack a little due to this. This might ruin her Tao essence. For the first time, she looked at Emo seriously. Without a clear understanding of great Tao, he wouldn't be able to say this. Only those who vindicated Tao and understood Tao vindication would say this. Was Emo a Tao nourishment divine emperor too and just hid his power? The more she thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Otherwise, How could he escape from a Tao nourishment divine emperor? I told you a lot before just because we've had a common enemy. You might have casually helped me, but I don't feel you owe me anything. The immortal range said coldly. She must not leave a mark in her heart due to this. Emo smiled. Playing Tao mark shenanigans with me. Even if you're Tao nourishment divine emperor, you're still a far cry from me. Emo said calmly, because you used me. You feel guilty, that's why you said a lot. In fact, your words didn't help me at all. It just wasted some time. You used me, it's a small thing to you, but it's life or death to me. If I wasn't lucky, I would be dead now. You need to know that you were the one who was supposed to die. The immortal goddess's face went pale. She knew she couldn't keep talking now. This thing has already left an extremely deep mark in her heart. If she didn't remove this mark, she definitely wouldn't be able to reach Tao essence. The road to life-crippling barren restriction is very far. Even if a Tao nourishment divine emperor comes in, there's less than half chance that they can reach there. It's not that I don't want to tell you where it is, but even I don't know where it is. The immortal goddess said. Emo dazed. He thought that the reason she argued with him till now was because she doesn't want to tell him where it is. In the end, she actually didn't know. Why didn't she say it earlier? Are you not going to life-crippling barren restriction? Emo asked in disappointment. If she wasn't going, he would leave immediately. I am going to the life-crippling barren restriction. The immortal goddess said helplessly. Emo sneered, you just told me you didn't know where it is, and now you're telling me you're going there. Haha, your immortal goddess sacred sect is such a trash sect? Full of lies. The immortal goddess's face sunk. If you dare to say anything else about the immortal goddess sacred sect, I will kill you here. Emo laughed and raised his hand. Zisu appeared in his hand, and he also said, if you want to fight, then fight. Would I be scared of a woman like you? The immortal goddess didn't fight. Emo could escape from that Tao nourishment divine emperor, and she felt things was strange. But if Emo stealthed his cultivation level, why did he keep asking her about the life-crippling barren restriction? All those who vindicated Tao in the God Necropolis domain can feel the calling of the God Necropolis domain. You're a mere immortal emperor, of course you can't sense it. Feeling its call doesn't mean you know where it is. Some people have felt its calling and haven't been able to get there after a few hundred years. The immortal goddess said calmly. Hearing this, Yemo's face blushed. He vindicated Tao in the Golden Page world. No wonder he couldn't feel the calling of the life-crippling barren restriction. Are you going to the life-crippling barren restriction? Emo put away Zisu and asked casually. Seeing this, the immortal goddess got less angrier and answered yes. Very well, I will follow you. After we get there, the conflict between us will be over. You can cast aside the burden and reach your Tao essence divine emperor. Emo immediately said. Emo then added, as long as you're heading towards the life-crippling barren restriction, even if I'm killed by the Tao waves of the God Necropolis domain, it has nothing to do with you, and our conflict will also be gone. The immortal goddess ignored Emo and started to go. She didn't believe a mere immortal emperor can keep up with her. If something happened to Emo on the way, she definitely wouldn't help. Emo knew what she was thinking, of course, but he didn't care. She went very fast and didn't even care about some of the Tao waves. For hours later, she stopped and looked coldly at Emo. You're a Tao vindication divine emperor, and yet you act as an immortal emperor. You're following me with such low means. Don't you think it's shameless? If you're thinking of getting close to me in such way, I'm telling you it won't work. Since Emo could keep up to her, he definitely wasn't an immortal emperor. In that case, Emo can definitely sense the calling of the life-crippling barren restriction. Since he knows how to get there and still wanted to follow her, he was clearly doing this on purpose. Since Emo didn't know what treasure she had, he came for her. Emo sneered. You're not the princess you think you are. I heard the women from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect aren't very talkative. Why do you have so much shit to say? Just lead the way. Any of my wives are prettier than you. The immortal goddess was almost shaking with anger. Luckily, she still had reason and just ignored Emo as she sped up. 3 days later, she stopped. Before her was this land of pebble stones filled with death. There was a long single-edged sword rune and a long double-edged sword rune crossed together. The heaven-covering Tao wave was emanating murderous intent. It made the already lifeless place more suffocating. As soon as the two walked in, the pebbles on the stone immediately turned to dust. The immortal goddess came up to the double-edged sword rune and sat down. Emo knew that she wanted to learn the god art there. He went to the single-edged sword rune and sat down. Even if she didn't sit down, Emo would sit down to feel the sword Tao waves. If she didn't want to wait for him, he would use words to make her. Emo devoured waves of Tao runes. He saw a huge man waving the sword ray in his hand. The sword ray sliced a crack in the void. Meanwhile, his opponent pierced out a double-edged sword. It seemed very plain, but it could stop that heaven-tearing single-edged sword ray. Emo gradually learned the sword Tao Chi and even forgot he was still learning it. The next moment, that deep sword mark on the ground turned into a true sword mark god art. At this moment, the immortal goddess suddenly felt a sword mark slice from the void at her forehead. In this desperation, her will brought out the sword will on the ground and smashed against the sword mark. The clear sound of swords clashing appeared. The sword mark turned into all sorts of sword beams while the double-edged sword will turned into countless sword chi. The sword beams and sword chi clashed together, turning all the pebbles to nothing. The sturdy black ground was carved with sword marks. At this moment, Emo and the immortal goddess didn't know this at all. They were immersed in this slaughter and didn't dare to let loose at all. It was as if they let loose for one moment, they would be killed. Emo felt that he had too many sword marks, but it couldn't stop the sword chi. Suddenly, the scene of him killed the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor appeared in his sea of consciousness. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was killed by the Great Primordial God Rune. What if he fused the two Great Primordial God Rune into his sword mark? Emo was immersed in this enlightenment of sword Tao. When he thought of the two Great Primordial God Runes, he immediately started to fuse it. But no matter what Emo did, the two Great Primordial God Runes wouldn't fuse into the sword mark. Emo derived his own god art, cultivation method, and even Tao. He immediately knew what was going on. The Great Primordial God Rune god art and the sword mark god art he learned himself weren't on the same level. The level of the Great Primordial God Rune was too high. His newly learned sword mark was good but a far cry from the Great Primordial God Rune. After giving up this idea, Emo immediately felt his sword mark change. His newly learned sword mark god art didn't fuse into the Great Primordial God Rune, but it was inspired by the Great Primordial God Rune. It now had some ripple shape too. It wasn't big, but the ripple would sweep over the nearby lethal force with each pulse. Rumble. The rippled-shaped sword mark smashed on the sword chi. Her sword chi dispersed and the powerful killing intent made her unable to keep learning. A blood light flashed across her chest. She was hacked away a few thousand km before barely being able to stand. She woke up from the enlightenment and stared at her bloody chest in shock. She even forgot to heal herself. She was just learning sword Tao and knew the change in the sword mark very clearly, just like how Emo knew her sword Tao change clearly. Before, the two swords were equally matched, but later on, the single-edged sword mark suddenly changed and formed a ripple-shaped sword rune. That sword rune seemed to be able to distort space. It gathered the space-lethal force in an eerie way and smashed over. After that, her sword chi could no longer stop the sword mark and she was smashed out. She was heavily injured too. She knew that this had nothing much to do with cultivation level, but since Emo could injure her, clearly he was no ordinary person. Just what was the sword rune that made it become so ferocious? Emo didn't feel guilty injuring her at all. He was using her to learn god art, but so was she. Even if he was killed, she probably wouldn't feel guilty. Emo deeply felt the power of this sword rune. At this moment, he closed his eyes and learned the sword rune god art. That last ripple rune was learned from the Great Primordial God Rune. He would name it Falling Mark Sword Rune. Although he only had one rune for it now, the Falling Mark Sword Rune would be complete when runes fell like flower petals. Emo opened his eyes and looked at the immortal goddess and saluted with his fists. "Sorry. I accidentally injured you there." The immortal goddess didn't care at all if Emo was genuinely apologizing. She just stared at Emo in shock. What was that sword rune god art? It definitely wasn't learnt here. Great Primordial God Rune was one of his lethal moves. Emo wasn't going to tell people so easily. He said, "It's something I came up with on the spot. It's nothing. Nothing can hurt her?" Immortal Goddess didn't care about Mo's conflicting words. She suddenly said, "I can take you to the life-crippling barren restriction, but one thing. If I see a Tao wave god art I need to learn on the way, you must attack and help me." She felt Mo's powerful learning capabilities. The reason she was the saint of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was because her learning capabilities were unparalleled. With her powerful learning capabilities, she still lost to Mo. One could see that Mo's learning capabilities were larger than hers. Not just that, after Mo learned the sword mark, he fused what his own thing into it and hacked out that extremely terrifying sword rune. She had never seen such insane learning capability. If someone like this helped her learn, she would go much further. She would also be able to find her weaknesses easier. Mo thought this was perfect. She needed someone to attack her, but so did he. Mo nodded, "Of course, but I have a condition too. If I stop to learn god art, you must wait for me." "Okay." The Immortal Goddess agreed without hesitation. Even if Mo didn't want her to wait, she would still wait. Such a good opponent was hard to find. After the two left, the sword mark and rune disappeared slowly. On the way, the two encountered many Tao waves and law god art. After learning it, they fought each other without hesitation. The both of them knew clearly that they were fighting for real. If the other was killed, then too bad. The two encountered all sorts of god arts and even Buddhist Great Palm god arts. Their cultivation level grew rapidly. Due to fighting, the two were injured many times. Mo didn't show mercy, and the Immortal Goddess was very fierce in her attacks. Luckily, Mo had the Chaos Tree, so he would rapidly heal back. Seeing Mo heal back so quickly every time, the Immortal Goddess knew Mo had a great secret, but Mo never asked about her secret. She never asked about Mo's. The God Necropolis domain was boundless, and they didn't even have a direction to the life-crippling barren restriction, but both of them weren't in a rush. They were learning god arts and practicing them. They would reveal their Tao wave laws from time to make learning and correcting their god art easier. At this time, both of them wouldn't use lethal blows. This never-before method of practicing allowed their cultivation level and god art to progress rapidly. Both of them felt their weaknesses from each other and wanted to learn more from each other. The Immortal Goddess came from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect and had been taught by powerful beings at a young age. Her cultivation method heritage came step by step, and the foundation was very big. Mo understood a lot of things through fighting with her. Compared to Mo, the Immortal Goddess learned even more. Mo's cultivation and god art came from the understanding of the three-birth chant. The three-birth chant god art and Tao waves would be shown on Mo's god art. This was pretty much opening another world to the Immortal Goddess. Black Lake. The Immortal Goddess stopped and looked at this pitch-black lake. She had been walking with Mo in the God Necropolis domain for half a year. Mo saw that this Immortal Goddess was always very calm and never spoke other than fighting. Even if she learned a god art, it would just be some slight joy. But today, it was Mo's first time seeing her so shocked. "What's the Black Lake?" Mo asked strangely. There was not a single drop of water in this lake. It was extremely black, and the banks of the lake were cracked open. It's said that the Black Lake is transformed from two magic artifacts. Two primordial essence divine emperors died here together. Two prenatal spirit artifacts that were just below chaos artifacts were locked here and turned to the Black Lake. Some say that it's not prenatal spirit artifact locked here, but postnal spirit artifact. Immortal Goddess said. Mo was very shocked. He knew that chaos artifacts were like his chaos tree and golden page world. His bitter bamboo was only prenatal spirit artifact, but now, there were two prenatal spirit artifacts trapped. Mo didn't care about magic artifact, but prenatal spirit artifacts were different. He didn't even want to let it go if it was postnal spirit artifact. God artifacts were powerful, but it could be forged. He had never heard anyone forge postnatal spirit artifact. "What treasure is it?" Mo asked Immortal Goddess. The Immortal Goddess looked at Mo plainly and said, "Don't tell me you want to take the two magic artifacts here?" Do you know how many Tao Essence Divine Emperors have come here, but these two magic artifacts remained here? The only change is that the Black Lake shrunk by a third. Is this a legend too? Emo stared at the Black Lake and asked. If it was before, the immortal goddess wouldn't answer this. But now they were using each other. In this half year, her cultivation level had been rising straight up, so when Emo asked, she nodded. That's right. Ancient legend. Emo laughed. Before, you told me that the legend said those who went in the God Necropolis domain never went out. If you come in God Necropolis domain, you can only stay in here forever. Since no one went out, where did the Black Lake legend come from? She couldn't beat Emo in a battle of words, or she wouldn't have lost to Emo before in the Tao Mark shenanigan. She fell silent for a while and said, It's said that the Black Lake is formed by a 3-treasure primordial essence gourd and 36 lightning sea god orbs. The 36 orbs locked the gourd and turned into the Black Lake. What? Emo was very shocked. He didn't know other things, but he knew the lightning sea god orbs too well. He got 12 in the cultivation realm and gave it to his daughter. He then got 24 in the immortal realm, but these 24 were different. The first set of 12 was the same as the ones in the immortal realm, but the 12 he got in the Abyssal River Lightning Kill Palace was completely different. It had a vast and powerful chi with devastating lightning lethal force. At that moment, Emo knew that the ones he got before were fake, but the ones he got from the palace were real. There were only 36 orbs. If he got 12 real ones, how could there be 36 orbs here? Emo looked at the Black Lake again. It did look like a gourd indeed. The Black Lake had always been in the God Necropolis domain, but it's said to constantly change position. Not everyone who comes in is lucky enough to encounter it. There's also many god art and restriction Tao waves in the lake, so it's a fortune. Then, the immortal goddess sat down next to the lake and started learning the Tao waves. Emo didn't do this. He jumped into the bottom of the lake without hesitation. The Tao wave laws there were extremely powerful, but after fighting with the immortal goddess all this time, Emo could face it. He jumped to the bottom not for the Tao waves, but for the 36 orbs. When he got the 12 fake orbs, Emo was so happy. If he got the 36 real ones, Emo would be overjoyed. As soon as Emo jumped in, he felt all sorts of Tao wave lethal force as well as a whirlpool force suck him and drag him to the bottom of the lake. Emo wanted to check the bottom of the lake, so he didn't resist this suction force. He just shielded his entire body. The immortal goddess saw Emo really jumping in and was dazed. Moments later, she realized that Emo was after the 2 spirit artifacts. She hesitated for a brief moment and jumped down too. On the way here, although she didn't say it, but she extremely admired Emo. His learning capabilities were far stronger than her and dealt with things in much smarter ways. Since Emo dared to jump in, it meant he had a way. If she followed him closely, she might be able to get a prenatal spirit artifact too. Who didn't like such treasure? It would increase her power by many times. But as soon as she jumped down, the immortal goddess noticed something wrong. She could block the law lethal force here, but there were whirlpools sweeping at her from the bottom of the lake. She couldn't resist at all and could only take out a powerful magic artifact to protect herself. This Black Lake didn't seem deep, but the suction force was endless. The two had been spinning for many hours but still didn't reach the bottom. The immortal goddess began to regret. She had a few top defense magic artifact, but it wasn't some prenatal spirit artifact. It wasn't even extreme grade god artifact. Later on, the suction force grew very strong and the bottom of the lake shot out lightning. These lightnings were extremely ferocious. Even with her defense magic artifact empowered by her god essence, it was making cracking sounds. Crack. 2 bolts finally pierced her defense magic artifact and smashed on her body. A large part of her robes were torn, bringing out bloody mist. The immortal goddess was extremely shocked. She began to regret. During the half year of fighting with Emo, she felt that her cultivation level was no weaker than Emo, maybe even a bit stronger, but now, she almost couldn't hold on. Her spirit sense scanned Emo. He wasn't far from her, but when she saw Emo casually let the lightning hit him, she realized she was being overconfident. This immortal emperor-looking guy had too many means. He was probably a lightning element body refinement cultivator. To be able to block such lightning, His body refinement cultivation would be at least immortal god body peak. Thinking about this, the immortal goddess took in a cold breath. This person hid so much power. Splurge. Another bolt struck her and her ribs sprayed bloody mist again. At this moment, she couldn't care about anything and waved out a 9-petal lotus stage. This stage emitted blue light that instantly wrapped around her. The lightning at the bottom grew denser and fiercer, but when striking the stage, it only created some blue beams. Emo knew she was in trouble, but he didn't want to help. She clearly followed him for the spirit treasure. It was limited. If he saved her, he would lose some. Even if he were to save her, it would be when she had no power to spirit control the prenatal spirit treasure. Now that she released this lotus stand, Emo immediately recognized that it was what she used when she fled. Its worth was no lower than a prenatal spirit treasure. Perhaps it was a prenatal spirit treasure. The immortal goddess sat in the stand and breathed slowly. She had never released the lotus stand in this half-year fighting Emo, but now she exposed it. It was her secret, her greatest acquisition in the God Necropolis domain. Its defenses were amazing, but it also had offensive and escape effects. She still hasn't completely spirit-controlled it up until now. This definitely wasn't some ordinary thing. It was something no weaker than a prenatal spirit treasure. But now, she exposed her treasure before even getting the prenatal spirit treasure. She didn't know if Emo would greed after her magic artifact, but if Emo did, she would fight with her life for it. Emo didn't have the time to greed after it. He had too many good things. He was now busy refining his lightning sword. The Golden Page world was his, so his breakthrough didn't have any divine damnation. He lost the chance to refine Lightning Sword. Lightning Sword was his earliest magic art. It was far from a god art, but it gave birth to a few god art. The 5 Lightning Spear Destruction and Lightning Sand all came from Lightning Sword. Emo just begun refining it and then his foot hit solid ground. He was at the bottom of the lake, but that terrifying suction power wasn't gone. However, it just couldn't move him at all. The bottom was filled with murderous and chaotic Law Dao waves. With these striking Emo, even his body started to bleed. Emo's heart sunk. He couldn't barely even stay alive here, much less find the prenatal spirit treasure. His powerful spirit sense and body refinement can only protect him for now. No wonder there was no bones at the bottom. Even the toughest bones would disappear in a place like this. The immortal goddess's lotus stand landed at the bottom too. She scanned her spirit sense out immediately, but the terrifying chaotic law chi instantly grinded her spirit sense into nothing. Emo's spirit sense couldn't be released outside, but he was in a much better state than the immortal goddess. At least he didn't need to go in the Golden Page world. Emo knew that with the situation here, even if he wanted to spirit control a magic artifact, he would have to set up a formation first to block the chaotic Law Dao waves. At least part of it. Emo started to set up formation flags. The immortal goddess didn't know what Emo was doing. She could only hide in her lotus stand. She had a mean to escape, but that was just escape. She was very shocked that Emo could stand at the bottom of the lake without using any defense magic artifact. Emo threw out formation flags and the nearby violent killing intent and lightning grew less. At this moment, the immortal goddess scanned with her spirit sense for the second time and immediately noticed what happened. She came out of the lotus stand. "You're actually a formation grandmaster." She could tell that Emo's formations were beyond ordinary immortal formations. She was truly shocked. She knew that Emo didn't understand a lot of things. To be honest, Emo probably got a very insane cultivation method and reached here purely by himself. Yet, it was already extremely shocking for a person like Emo to reach immortal god body, but now he was a top formation grandmaster. This was unheard of. Any of these two things would cost a lifetime. Emo glanced at her and said nothing. He still continued his formation setup. After the blocked some of the chaotic laws and lightning, the bottom of the lake cleared up slowly. 2 golden bone arrows were scattered at 2 corners. Emo almost exclaimed seeing these 2 golden bone arrows and immediately grabbed at one. The immortal goddess also saw this. Without thinking, she grabbed at one too. There were all sorts of chaotic Dao waves here and terrifying lightning. Under such cruel conditions, the 2 bone arrows were still perfect. Clearly, they weren't ordinary. They were probably from one divine emperor. When Emo grabbed one, the immortal goddess grabbed the other. "Give that bone arrow to me." Emo immediately knew it was the golden bone arrow he was looking for. The immortal goddess sneered, "Why should I give something I grabbed to you? Don't say that you set up the formations there. We said we were collaborating. If I didn't take you to the Black Lake, you wouldn't even be able to come here." Emo dazed. In his impression, the immortal goddess was no match for him in arguments. It had only been half a year. How did she become so good? Seeing Emo unable to rebut, the immortal goddess felt a little happy. Half a year ago, Emo almost gave her a sliver of Tao mark in her heart. She had been thinking about this problem. A month ago, she found the real answer. If she just said that Emo stayed there to take benefits from them, she didn't know Emo anything. However, she didn't think of this at the time. A month later, she thought of it, but she didn't want Emo to leave. After all, she learned a lot from Emo. Plus, as soon as she grabbed this bone arrow, she knew its origin. How could she give it to Emo? Emo saluted with his fists. "My name is Emo. I've come with you all this way and we've learnt from each other." "Thank you. What's your name?" The immortal goddess's face was calm. She could tell that Emo really cared about the arrow. It was quite possible that the golden bow of divine extermination was in his hands. Just where did he get all these good things? Even if the golden bow of divine extermination was in Emo's hands, she didn't want to give the arrow to Emo so easily. The value of golden bow of divine extermination was too precious. Even if her sect got it, it would be a huge benefit. "We're just using each other. You don't need to ask for my name. After we get to the life-crippling restriction ground, then we have nothing to do with each other." The immortal goddess said calmly, "You know that if I take the formation flags away from here, you can only hide in your lotus stand. If you give me the bone arrow, I promise to take you up." Emo promised. The immortal goddess couldn't even be bothered answering. She took out a rune and said, "You don't need to worry. I can go out at any time. But you should think about how to get out yourself." Emo's face was bad. She had this rune to escape, but he didn't. Even if he wasn't scared of these lightning, could he escape these whirlpools? Emo thought about what he could use to exchange for that bone arrow. Emo also started to study the bottom of this lake. Although it was pitch black, it was much smaller than the surface area of the top. Emo released Zissou and hacked at the dark bottom. Zissou didn't leave any marks on it. So tough, Emo was shocked. It said that the Black Lake is formed from the 3 treasure primordial essence gourd. If a mere half-god artifact can hack it open, it wouldn't be this famous. The immortal goddess saw Emo's naive actions and said. Emo ignored her. Since this was a magic artifact, he would find a way to spirit control the core. "You can check here. I'm not going to stay," the immortal goddess said. She used her rune. The rune even loped her in yellow light, and the next moment, she flew out from the bottom of the lake. The immortal goddess was scared that Emo would suddenly take away the formation and trap her in the lotus stand. Although she could leave in the lotus stand, but she would need to use another defense rune. She didn't want to waste it. "I don't believe I can't get to life-crippling restriction grounds without you," Emo said. He knew from what she said that she saw through the Tao mark he left her. But even so, Emo didn't care. There might be 2 prenatal spirit treasures here. Emo didn't want to give them up. After she left, Emo didn't follow. He had decided to spirit control these 2 treasures. To do that, he needed to find the entrance to the core of the magic artifact. It was very dangerous trying to spirit control these sealed magic artifact, as one might be devoured by the magic artifact too. Emo wasn't scared because he had the golden page world. He threw out a few more formation flags. Although he couldn't completely seal the Tao wave Kais, there weren't much chaotic law Kais anymore. Small ginseng, check with your spirit sense. See if you can find the core of this gourd. We're probably at the opening to the gourd. Emo sound transmission to small ginseng. Small ginseng had an instinct to natural formations. Since this gourd was a prenatal spirit treasure, it was something natural too. "Boss, we're not at the entrance to the Augurd, we're at the center," Small ginseng said. "How do you know?" Emo asked. Small ginseng immediately said, I have this natural instinct to natural spirit items. This gourd is definitely natural. So this means, this gourd really is a prenatal spirit treasure? Emo rejoiced. Small ginseng quickly said, I don't know if it is a primary stage, but this gourd was reforged before becoming this. Emo was very satisfied. He just needed to open the blockage in the middle and land at the entrance. A day later, Emo's formation was broken by the chaotic Tao laws. He went around a few times at this place and didn't find any marks. He used all sorts of ways, whether it was smashing with the world rock or magic artifact or burning with fire. They were all ineffective. But Emo didn't want to give up like this. He set up another defense formation and started searching again. A day passed again, seeing that his defense formation was about to be broken again. Emo sighed. No wonder these two prenatal spirit treasures stayed here for this long. Crack. The formation flag made a slight sound and Emo knew his formation was about to shatter. The formation flags corresponded to each other. If one formation flag completely broke, then the rest would be smashed by the chaotic Tao laws. Just when Emo wanted to give up, that lotus stand came from down. Emo immediately knew that the immortal goddess came back again. Emo knew that she definitely came down for these two magic artifacts. She was scared that he would take it all for himself. He had made up his mind that he must get this bone arrow. He didn't like robbing other people's things, but the golden bone arrow was a set. He had to gather it all. This immortal goddess had far less experience than him, perhaps he could trick it over. As soon as Lotus Stand came down, the immortal goddess came out. Emo saw her change a set of clothes, but there was still blood seeping out of her clothes. Her state was Whittier and Chi very unstable. Emo knew she was heavily injured. The same time he found she was injured, Emo thought of something. Before, he wasn't confident in taking her out, but now he was. There's no point in killing me. A Tao actualization divine emperor has chased here. If we don't work together, you will die too. Emo was furious. This woman led a powerful foe to him. Before Emo could rage, she threw the golden bone arrow to Emo. You can have this bone arrow, but you must fend off the enemy with me. I have an extremely powerful Tao bead. Can heavily injure him. You just need to attack when he's heavily injured. If you kill that Tao actualization divine emperor, I just want a blue bottle. The rest is yours. Emo's anger finally appeased a bit. The golden bone arrow was the most important. He had 6 arrows now in total. He wondered if the arrows he got from the Lightning Kill Palace were from here. Thinking about this, Emo suddenly had an idea. He got a dagger at the palace. In order to dig this gourd, he used everything but the dagger. He remembered that after spirit controlling the dagger, it had a name called Melt Space. Thinking about this, Emo took out the dagger and dug at the hard ground. Screech. Melt Space was like digging through tofu. Everywhere it went past, the materials melted and soon a black hole was formed. Emo jumped in the hole. The immortal goddess saw this and woke up from her shock. She jumped in without hesitation. At this moment, Emo's formation finally cracked apart. The chaotic chi filled this place again. That huge hole Emo opened with Melt Space closed again. By the looks of it, it would close up to what it was before in just a few seconds. Before the hole could recover, another figure landed here. He had a pale face. The nearby chi struck his body like it was striking a powerful magic artifact. It couldn't hurt him at all. Even the lightning couldn't do any damage to him. Where did that immortal goddess sacred sect girl go? She clearly ran here. Even if she was killed by the laws here, her lotus stand should still be here. Suddenly, he stopped talking as he saw the fist-sized hole. Seeing this, he dashed towards the hole without hesitation. He had heard of the Black Lake, of course, and knew what it was. He immediately guessed that the way to spirit control it was in the black hole. When Emo and the immortal goddess came in, that pulling feeling from whirlpools were gone. There was no lightning, just a grayish space. Moments later, that man came in the hole too. Emo and the immortal goddess both sensed it. They sped up running towards the entrance of the gourd. The man arrived later but was faster than Emo and the immortal goddess. He charged towards the entrance first. He couldn't care about them too. He wanted to charge to the entrance and spirit control this prenatal spirit treasure. Emo was worried. He threw out a few pills to the immortal goddess and said, "Hurry up and heal. I need to speed up." Emo had to help her. Even if he got to the gourd entrance alone, he would be no match for that man. The two had to work together to fight that man. Otherwise, he would have to leave. Emo didn't want to give up the lightning orbs he was about to get. The immortal goddess didn't reject this at all. Emo burned his god essence to speed up. 5 minutes later, Emo and the immortal goddess landed at the entrance. They immediately saw the man sitting on the side. He was holding a rune with one hand. Clearly, he was starting to spirit control the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. Emo was furious. He was the one who opened this place up. Just when he wanted to attack, he saw 24 lightning-surrounded orbs at the border of the entrance. There was 36 spots, but only 24 remained. Emo rejoiced. He charged up to spirit control these 24 lightning orbs immediately. He knew why the man didn't go for the lightning orbs first, as 12 was missing. Even if he spirit controlled it, it wouldn't be a complete magic artifact. Perhaps he also thought that when he spirit controlled this gourd, he could easily kill them. The immortal goddess had pretty much recovered now. Seeing the man spirit control the gourd and Emo spirit control the lightning orbs, she actually had nothing to do. Just when she was thinking about if she should spirit control a few lightning orbs and exchange things from Emo suddenly sound transmission to her, "Hurry up and go out. If this guy spirit controlled the gourd, none of us would get away. We're all inside the gourd. The middle of the gourd is sealed. How do I get out?" The immortal goddess said. Emo threw the dagger to her, "Hurry up and spirit control part of this dagger and then slice off the middle of the gourd. Don't stay here. I think that barrier at the middle is definitely very important. It must be a crucial part to the gourd. If you cut it away, even if this bastard spirit controls the gourd, he wouldn't be able to trap me." Hearing this, she knew time was of the essence. She immediately grabbed the dagger and went back while whining about why Emo deigned do this himself. She didn't know how much the 24 lightning orbs were to Emo. The man was immersed in spirit controlling the gourd. There was Tao waves circulating around him and a defense formation disk there. Emo knew that if he was to spirit control all the lightning orbs, he definitely wouldn't be able to beat that man. But he had to spirit control one layer of restriction for each orb to remove it from the orb. Seeing this, Emo set up a stealth formation and threw out the time formation disk and started to spirit control the orbs. As soon as the man started spirit controlling the gourd, he knew his plans had some error. He didn't attack the two immediately because he was certain that they couldn't escape. He knew it would take at least half a day to escape from the entrance. He definitely would have spirit controlled the first layer of restriction by then. With that, the gourd would be his. They were inside his gourd, how could they escape? There was 24 orbs here, but he definitely wouldn't spirit control them first as the set was incomplete. If he chose the gourd, those two would definitely go after the 24 lightning orbs. No one can ignore such treasure. If they did so, they would waste more time in the gourd, which would benefit him even more. But soon, he realized he thought of things too simply. Each level of restriction was extremely hard to spirit control. He would need a long time even for just the first level. He knew that Emo set up a stealth formation, but he couldn't care. He just wanted to finish the first layer quickly and take the gourd away. With the time formation disk set up, Emo immediately sped up. When he pulled all 24 orbs from the gourd, it only took 4 hours. Emo didn't even take the stealth formation flags and just left the gourd entrance. He knew that he would spirit control this gourd faster, but he didn't dare to do it. The man can't stop now, but if he tried to go spirit control the gourd too, the man might just come to kill him. The man immediately knew when Emo left, but he couldn't stop now. His first level of restriction was almost done. By then, he would be able to put he gourd away. If he did that, there was no way the two in here could get away. Emo clearly knew what the man was planning. After taking the 24 orbs, he immediately charged up. When Emo came to the middle of the gourd, he saw the immortal goddess desperately holding the dagger. When she saw Emo come, she quickly said, "I've dug out the middle of the gourd, but I can't spirit control it, so I can't put it in the storage ring." "I'll do it." Emo took the dagger and immediately started spirit controlling the barrier at the middle. EMO just spirit controlled a bit and there was a huge laughter. Not good. He finished spirit controlling the gourd, we can't get away. The immortal goddess immediately released that rune wanting to run away. EMO couldn't care anymore. He just took this blockage and sent it into his golden page world. Just because a storage ring couldn't store it, didn't mean that his golden page world couldn't store it. Indeed, before the man finished laughing, the blockage was sent into the golden page world. How did you do it? The immortal goddess looked dazedly at EMO. EMO sneered. Hurry up and run. Do you want to wait for him to put away the gourd? Then EMO dashed towards the Black Lake. The two of them noticed that after EMO took the blockage, the whirlpools and lightnings were gone. So were the chaotic laws. Seeing this, the immortal goddess immediately followed. You still want to run when you're in my gourd? Haha. The man laughed. If someone was next to the Black Lake, he would notice that lake was gone. What remained was just a huge basin. The man was holding a gourd standing at the basin laughing. Ha! Another wave of laughter sounded. The man dazed, and then he noticed that the one laughing was the immortal emperor Little Brat. He didn't think EMO was an immortal emperor. Otherwise, how could he come here? He was dazed. Wasn't he in the gourd? How was he laughing outside? EMO really wanted to laugh. He was laughing so much his stomach was hardening. He felt he was too smart. The blockage he cut from the gourd was definitely the bottom of the gourd. For some reason, the bottom of the gourd shrunk and fell to the middle. This was what caused the Black Lake. The Black Lake was a gourd, but one that could be entered from the bottom. When the man laughed, EMO and the immortal goddess were indeed scared, but then they saw a sliver of light. The two dashed out from there without trouble. If a gourd didn't even have a bottom, how could it trap people? The man saw EMO laugh so much and dazed for quite a while before raising the shrunken gourd and looked from the entrance. Then, he saw that he could see through to the other side. He saw from the entrance of the gourd EMO laughing and raising his middle finger. Although he spirit-controlled one layer of restriction, the bottom of the gourd was gone. The man immediately realized what happened and his face went purple. Do you see me? You're so old and you're using a gourd to be a telescope. Ha. EMO felt he was too smart to have dug the bottom of the gourd out. Although he didn't know what telescope was nor why EMO raised his middle finger. But the immortal goddess saw the man's face and then looked at EMO. She couldn't resist laughing too. She had never laughed like this ever since entering the immortal goddess sacred sect. But today this EMO guy was too wicked. He dug out the bottom of the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. Is it very funny? The man's face recovered and he stared at EMO asking coldly. EMO raised Zisu and said seriously, That's right, it's very funny. You're this old, probably tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands year old, but you still play with kaleidoscopes like a little kid. Can you not see me directly with your eyes? Do you have to look at me through a gourd without a bottom? Die! The man could no longer control his anger. His sun and moon 8-trigram spear carried out a pale crescent strike at EMO. At the same time, his Tao actualization divine emperor domain smashed out. The surrounding space-time seemed to have been bound by him. The immortal goddess immediately released her lotus stand and smashed 9 blue rays at the man. She knew that if something happened to EMO, she would have to keep running. EMO, who was seemingly bound, smiled. Zisu suddenly started to distort and broke free from this binding. The space distortion around Zisu grew bigger. Before the crescent landed above EMO, countless purple beams were bomb out of nowhere. They rapidly formed a twisted sword wave and smashed out. Thud! The pale white crescent clashed with the purple twisted sword wave and the crescent immediately exploded. Then, a faint red sun will that was about to form also crippled. Before the man could be shocked, he swept up countless spear shadows with his spear that formed a barrier around him. Crack! The barrier completely blocked the lotus stand's beams. The man didn't keep releasing his spear but looked at EMO in disbelief. What god art is this? It stopped my crescent moon. Give me that gourd telescope and I'll tell you. EMO smiled. This falling mark sword mark was indeed powerful. He just learned it and only released one, but it stopped half the attack of a Tao actualization divine emperor. Seeing EMO was this powerful, the immortal goddess felt assured and rejoiced that she fled to hear. The man's face sunk. He knew that neither of them were a match for him, but the two joined up, making it quite impossible for taking them out. Give me the bottom of that gourd. Name a price. The man didn't keep fighting and chose to negotiate with Yemo. How could Yemo give the bottom of this man? If he did, this man would have the complete gourd. Same. I want your bottomless gourd. Name a price. Seeing the man negotiate, he knew that the man couldn't take them out. The main thing was that the immortal goddess's lotus stand was too powerful. The man sneered and said to the immortal goddess Ji, I'll give you the blue bottle. You can go. You're a powerful person from the immortal goddess sacred sect. I won't do anything to you. Why stay with this wild brat? If you keep doing this, I'll report all your tracks to the immortal goddess sacred sect, I think. So the immortal goddess was called Ji. Emo immediately knew his predicament. If Ji agreed to this, he would be in extreme danger. Ji dazed. She completely didn't expect that the man was willing to give her the blue bottle just so she wouldn't attack. She then immediately knew that he was using the blue bottle to trade for everything Emo had. This was a huge profit. And she knew that the man also planned to keep hunting her after he killed Emo and then take the blue bottle back. She sneered. When the blue bottle was in her hands, he dared to think about getting it back. He was dreaming. As for reporting to her sect, she didn't care at all. The man was certain that Ji would agree to his condition. He knew that Ji had a lot of secrets and he might not be able to get back the blue bottle, but he wasn't worried. He just needed to take out Emo. Emo had much greater secrets on him. Emo took the 24 lightning orbs before he could spirit control the first layer of restriction. Clearly, Emo had some time manipulation magic artifact or even time formation disk. Otherwise, there was no way Emo would finish before him. Both of them stared at Ji. Emo didn't explain the man's intentions. He knew that Ji would be able to think of it. Emo was thinking that if Ji agreed, he would run immediately. The man was thinking that as soon as Ji agreed, he would seal this place. Ji hesitated. She really wanted to get the blue bottle so easily and she wouldn't feel guilty at all. After all, she gave Emo a golden bone arrow, but Emo didn't help her at all. She didn't get a share of the gourd nor the lightning orbs. Although she discussed with Emo to use a Dao bead to heavily injure the man, but whether they would be able to keep him was another matter. Plus, the bead was too precious to her. She only had one. Emo's heart sunk. He was ready to release instant second. In that second, he would be able to instant transmission away. Pale face, people really do meet everywhere. Another dashing light came. It was a Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor. The man looked younger than him. His red hair was braided, but his eyes were icy blue. There was a sliver of arrogance and wildness on his face, but his hands were long and white. Kong Chengtian, I didn't go find you, but you dare to come to me. I don't have time to waste with you today. Move away, the pale-faced man said. If it was another time, how could he take this Kong Chengtian seriously, but at this crucial moment when Ji was about to agree, he suddenly popped up. Are you two fighting this pale face? Count me in, we can gain up and beat the shit out of him, Kong Chengtian said. Ji sighed. She knew she had no chance. Regardless if she agreed or not, there was no point in staying here. Even if she agreed, the pale-faced man wouldn't agree. Now that another Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor came, even if she didn't join Emo and that guy wouldn't fear the man. Seeing Kong Chengtian release his magic artifact, the man saluted with his fist's ace changed. He disappeared into a dashing light without hesitation. If it was 3 ordinary Dao Nourishment Divine Emperors, he wouldn't care, but he knew that Kong Chengtian and Ji were peerless. This strange immortal emperor wasn't easy to mess with too, so he might as well flee. Ha ha ha. Pale face, you finally fled in front of your granddad. Kong Chengtian laughed. Emo had a golden immortal of this Kong Chengtian, not because he saved him, but he seemed to be like Dingjia. Ji hesitated before, and now she didn't have the face to keep staying with Emo. She said nothing and turned to leave. Isn't she your woman? Why did she leave? Kong Chengtian asked in confusion. Ji didn't go far, and hearing this she almost tripped and wanted to come back and fight Kong Chengtian. Luckily she had some reason and knew she was no match for Kong Chengtian. Haha, I would never want such woman. Thank you for helping Brother Kong. The white face was scared off. Emo saluted with his fists. That's true, pretty women are usually bad. That's what my dad told me. Kong Changtian laughed and then saluted with his fists. My name was said by that pale face? What's your name? I respect you for daring to stand off with him. I'm Emo. This white face came looking for my trouble for no reason. One day, I'm going to take him out, Emo said without hesitation. The reason he was going after that man was because he wanted the gourd. Plus, he knew that even if he didn't go after the man, he would come for him. Okay, I want to kill him too, but I can't beat him yet. We used the woman's threat a bit too, but that woman just walks off. Kong Changtian was annoyed that she just left. But then he immediately patted Yemo's shoulder. Not bad. You're only an immortal emperor, but you dare to appear in the god necropolis domain. It seems your power isn't ordinary. Yemo didn't mind Kong Changtian patting his shoulder. He seemed to be the straightforward person. It was impossible for him to leave any marks on his body. Yemo wanted to admit he was Dao molding divine emperor, but then he thought that if he admitted that he couldn't sense the life-crippling restriction grounds, then Kong Changtian might be able to guess he vindicated Dao in the five-element world. Thinking about this, Yemo laughed. I have some luck, but I don't fear ordinary Dao molding emperors. Great. I respect people like you. I'm going to the life-crippling restriction grounds. Are you going? If so, let's go together. Don't worry. I'll protect you since that woman is gone. Kong Changtian said generously. I want to go. I went with her before for her to bring me there. Now that she's gone, if Brother Kong can take me there, I would be very grateful. Yemo thanked. Kong Changtian waved his hand. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Yemo thought that he was indeed a Dao molding divine emperor now, but he could only at most survive in the god necropolis domain. He had 6 golden bone arrows and 36 lightning orbs. If he didn't turn that into his means, he would be an idiot. Thinking about this, Yemo saluted with his fists. Brother Kong, I have some private matters to deal with. It would probably take a few years, so please go first. I'll go after I'm done dealing with my own things. Kong Changtian said generously. No problem. I'll leave some spirit sense marks on the way. Have this jade card. You can use it to find my spirit sense mark. Yemo rejoiced and quickly. Thank you, Brother Kong. I have one more thing to ask, Brother Kong. Do you know if one can leave this place in the end? Do you have to reach primordial essence divine emperor before you can go out? Yemo asked. Kong Changtian said affirmatively. You can definitely go out, but the place you get out to is not necessarily the broken divine Dao realm. You might appear in other realms. As for Dao essence divine emperor, there might not be one in every 100,000 divine emperors. Plus, how can there be that many divine emperors in the world? Of course, if you truly reach Dao vindication divine emperor, you might be able to easily tear the space here and leave. Yemo rejoiced and asked, May I ask Brother Kong where the way out is? Kong Changtian shook his head. I only know the way out is at the life-crippling restriction grounds. I've only been at the god necropolis domain for no more than a few hundred years. Now that I reached Dao nourishment divine emperor, I want to go life-crippling restriction grounds and see. There are many old monsters who have stayed here for countless years. Perhaps if you ask them you might know. Thank you, Brother Kong. Let's meet again at the life-crippling restriction grounds. Yemo said. It had been 1 month since Yemo separated from Kong Changtian. In the Golden Page world, Yemo spirit controlled the 2 golden bones to the 99th restriction. The golden light was getting dimmer, but the terrifying murderous chi in the arrow was getting heavier. Yemo couldn't go any further over 99th level of restriction. Then, Yemo continued to spirit control the bow and the other arrows to the 99th restriction. Despite this, the bow and arrow was still called Golden Bow of Immortal Extermination. After he had done all that, the time formation disk had ran for 4 months. Feeling the bow and arrow increase in power by tens of folds, Yemo was very satisfied. Before that, Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor could grab his bone arrow, but now probably even that pale-faced man couldn't grab it. Suppressing the desire to test it, Yemo took out the 36 lightning orbs. He had 48 right now, 12 were fake. Yemo knew these orbs had restriction, but they were completely different to the ones Golden Bow of Divine Extermination had. There was 108 restriction and Yemo spent nearly half a year and could only reach 99th level. It seemed they were something of equal caliber to the golden bow of divine extermination, Yemo guessed. There was powerful lightning source killing intent and lightning law in the orbs. Yemo immediately realized the power of these 36 orbs. I finally have some self-protection means. Yemo put these 36 orbs into his sea of consciousness and breathed. He had spent about a year in the Golden Page world. After Yemo left the Golden Page world, he immediately took out Kong Chengtian's Jade card. As soon as he took it, he sensed the spirit sense marks Kong Chengtian made. Not bad. Yemo felt Kong Chengtian was a really nice person. Since Yemo walked the path that Kong Chengtian walked, there wasn't anything good left as Kong Chengtian would have taken them. But Yemo didn't care, that way he would go faster. As Yemo traveled, he vindicated his god art. The god necropolis domain space was very tough. Even if his god art can annihilate a star, it wouldn't cause much disturbance in the god necropolis domain. For months later, Yemo's 36 lightning orbs could form a formation. Accompanied with his Dao molding divine emperor domain, he could completely bind a Dao nourishment divine emperor. Plus, the lightning orbs could attack Sea of Consciousness with lightning. Yemo could barely release 2 falling mark sword runes. If he shot all 6 golden bow of divine extermination arrows, he could instant kill Dao molding divine emperor, but that would be too taxing on his essence chi and spirit sense. The only pity Yemo had was that his great primordial god rune didn't improve much. As for the world rock and How Heaven drum, they were rarely used. The How Heaven drum was high level, but Yemo didn't like drum sound god arts and rarely studied it. As for the world rock, it was powerful, but Yemo got too little. The world rock could be powerful in the immortal realm, but in the god necropolis domain, it didn't seem very useful. Yemo really liked this world rock magic artifact. If it wasn't so small, he would often use it. He even thought if he spirit controlled the entire world mountain, it would be a huge lethal weapon. It was no weaker than a prenatal spirit treasure. However, he didn't have the power. Even now, he might not have the power to spirit control it. Yemo was still deriving his falling mark sword rune, but he was captivated by this 10 kilometers tall pale light. Yemo immediately knew that there were 2 masters who were at least Dao nourishment divine emperor fighting. Another pale crescent flew with a faint red mark. Yemo immediately recognized that one of them was the pale-faced man. To be able to fight him, the other person must be at least Dao actualization divine emperor. If it was some other Dao actualization divine emperor fighting, Yemo would move as far away as possible, but that pale-faced man was someone he wanted to kill the most in here. He immediately flew over without hesitation. The 2 were going as they were fighting. Yemo had to follow to keep up. In order to prevent the man from knowing he was following, Yemo had to stealth his figure. This chase went on for a few days. When he was getting closer and closer, Yemo finally saw who the pale-faced man was fighting. It was an ordinary-looking middle-aged woman. However, she was definitely Dao actualization divine emperor, and her dual silver swords shot out pale lights too that entwined with the pale-faced man's spear. Rumble. The swords and the spear clashed. The silver-white veil receded and the woman flew out spitting blood in the air. The pale-faced man didn't have it easy too. Although his spear hit the woman's chest, he was also shot by the silver-white light. However, his injuries were much lighter than the woman's. The 2 fought for many days and now they were both injured. Yemo knew this was the best time to ambush. But then, he saw the pale-faced man land in a valley and there were 8 people there. Yemo hesitated and released falling mark sword rune. Although the pale-faced man was already a Dao actualization divine emperor, his power was greatly weakened after fighting that woman for a few days and getting injured. When he saw there were quite some people in the valley, he focused his attention being wary of them. He didn't expect the ambush to come from behind his back. When 2 twisted sword runes were about to tear him apart, he suddenly realized. He couldn't even smash out the moon spear and released it. At the same time, he burned his essence chi while lighting up his armor. Rumble. The falling mark sword rune Yemo had been preparing for a long time fell on the spears. The Dao waves on the sword rune spun and completely tore apart the wave brought about by the spear. The spear couldn't handle such attack, and the spear veil that hadn't been formed was instantly broken. Splurge. The twisted sword rune easily broke that vibrant armor, bringing out a spray of blood. The man's face went pale. Seeing how he was about to be sliced in half, a huge essence chi hand pulled him away. Emo didn't keep attacking. The hand that grabbed the man came from a Tao actualization divine emperor, and he knew that even if the pale-faced man wasn't pulled, Emo wouldn't be able to kill him. Emo planned that if his ambush landed, the pale-faced man would be torn open. However, Emo didn't expect that the pale-faced man had such a top-grade armor. He was also a body refinement cultivator too. If the strike wasn't lethal, someone like the pale-faced man could definitely run away. Emo's ambush finished in an instant, and now almost everyone stared at Emo. Emo seemed to be only Immortal Emperor, but he dared to ambush a Tao actualization divine emperor. This made everyone realize Emo was no Immortal Emperor. The pale-faced man was injured very heavily. The core of his body had been injured. "Thank you, Brother Yunli, please protect me," the pale-faced man said as he quickly ate pills. "Thank you for helping, Divine Brother. I'm Gon Shintong," the middle-aged woman said. Emo saluted with his fists. "I'm Emo. This little pale-faced bitch took my things. I came here to settle things with him." Emo saw that there were 2 Tao actualization divine emperors in the valley. The rest of them were below Tao actualization divine emperor. Emo breathed easy seeing that there were no Tao essence divine emperor. At the same time, he saw she was here, but she didn't come out and talk with him. With so many people staying here, this valley definitely wasn't ordinary. Thus, Emo didn't leave. There were 2 Tao actualization divine emperors here before, the brother Yunli and an old man. Now there were 4 Tao actualization divine emperors. However, Gon Shintong was injured and the pale-faced man was heavily injured. Most people looked at the old man while a few looked at Emo and Gon Shintong. Emo dared to ambush a Tao actualization divine emperor and succeeded. Gon Shintong was with Emo. Their power was not to be underestimated. Everyone was guessing if Emo was Tao actualization divine emperor. "Muhan divine emperor, there's more than 10 people here. Speak up," a chubby Tao nourishment divine emperor said. The old man nodded and saluted with his fists to Emo and Gon Shintong. "My title is called Muhan. You two just came here but probably don't know why we're staying here," Muhan divine emperor said as he studied Emo. He couldn't see through Emo's cultivation level. That's why he was concerned with Emo. He still felt a little shocked about the 2 sword runes Emo ambushed the pale-faced man with. "May I ask, Brother Muhan, why everyone is staying here?" Gon Shintong asked. Muhan divine emperor said, "Have you heard of God Necropolis Domain, Wooding Valley?" Emo never heard about it, but Gon Shintong said in shock, "Is this place Wooding Valley?" Muhan divine emperor nodded. "That's right, we're certain it is, but the formation outside is too high level. We've been searching for many days but still didn't find an entrance." Gon Shintong said with disappointment, "Wooding old man is unparalleled in formation. It seems no one can break the entrance formation." Muhan divine emperor said with awkwardness, "That's right. Although we have a lot of people here, there are no top-level formation grandmasters. My formation skills are higher, but I can only barely set up level 8 immortal formation." She stared at Emo. She knew that Emo's formation skills were definitely higher than everyone here. Emo's spirit sense searched this valley. He didn't know who Wooding Old Man was, but since so many people were looking for this place, it wasn't simple. "My formation skills are simple. What is your opinion, Brother Muhan?" Gon Shintong said. "I think we should attack the valley in batches. We would eventually find an entrance," Muhan divine emperor said. Gon Shintong subconsciously said, "That way there's only 10% chance of finding the entrance. There would be 90% chance that the space here would be completely sealed and never to be opened." Muhan divine emperor was helpless. "In fact, we've already discussed this. There's nothing else we can do." Emo suddenly asked, "Martial Sister Gon, may I ask the story of the Wooding Valley?" Hearing this, everyone except she looked at Emo with shock. They were too speechless that Emo didn't even know about such place. Gon Shintong looked at Emo in confusion. "Brother Yi, you really don't know about Wooding Valley?" Emo said awkwardly, "I've been cultivating with Master in the cultivation home. I've only come out for a few years. So that's it." Gon Shintong said, and then explained, "Wooding Old Man is a legend in the divine Tao realm. He's very powerful, but his formation skills are even greater. I'm not sure if he's a primordial essence divine emperor, but everyone knows he lives at this region of the god necropolis domain, and his home is called the Wooding Valley. Then, there was a big battle in the divine Tao realm. This area was affected too. Some primordial essence divine emperor fought their way here. Wooding Old Man didn't want to be involved in the battle, and thus set up formation completely sealing the space around his valley." Emo realized there was definitely large sums of treasures in Wooding Old Man's home and maybe even his heritage. "Martial Sister Gon, you're saying Wooding Old Man is still in this valley?" Emo thought that if Wooding Old Man was on par with Primordial Essence Divine Emperor, his life would be unlimited. Muhan Divine Emperor said, "After he sealed the valley, he wasn't able to hide inside and was caught by the battle. His best friend asked him for help and in the end brought over a huge enemy. Wooding Old Man died in that battle." Emo's spirit sense scanned this valley but didn't find any clues. However, he believed that at the very least he could find the formation door. Just when Emo was thinking about asking for benefits, he saw the pale-faced man get up. Emo suddenly thought of something and smiled. He had decided to start with this guy first. The man was very cunning, and seeing Yemo's evil smile, he immediately knew what Yemo wanted. He still remembered Yemo's formation in the Black Lake. Clearly, Yemo was a top-level formation grandmaster. "Brother Yunli, thank you for your protection," the pale-faced man said to the Divine Emperor. Yunli smiled. "It's no big deal, don't be so polite." Yunli Divine Emperor knew that he did an easy favor. Even if he didn't help, the pale-faced man could easily get away. The man took out an exquisite gourd and gave it to Yunli. "I know you like collecting magic artifact fragments. I have a gourd here, but the bottom is gone. Please have it." Yunli Divine Emperor frowned. He liked magic artifact fragments, but if you're giving gifts you can't give a fragment. However, this gourd was quite exquisite. He took the gourd without showing any annoyance. "Then thank you, Brother Jian." Before he finished, Yunli Divine Emperor's face changed and grabbed the gourd tightly. "What gourd is this?" The pale-faced man regretted giving the gourd out. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't stay here to recover. He was certain that Yemo wouldn't be able to catch up to him. But if he wanted to go now, Yemo would ask the Tao Actualization Divine Emperors to catch up to him and kill him. He was this heavily injured, he didn't feel confident escaping a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor at all. "This pale-faced man, this gourd is the Black Lake. You're saying the 3 treasure primordial essence gourd?" Almost everyone stared at the gourd with beams coming out of their eyes. This was a prenatal spirit treasure. There were that many divine emperors, but no one was said to have a prenatal spirit treasure. Immediately, people thought of another thing, the 36 lightning orbs. These 2 magic artifacts were spirit-controlled. Everyone all gazed at the pale-faced man. Yemo cursed. He didn't expect this man to be this shameless. He did intend to tell Muhan Divine Emperor that he can find the entrance, and the condition was to get the gourd off the pale-faced man. But Yemo didn't bring this up as he knew it would backfire. However, this pale-faced man immediately saw this and took the thing out. Next, the man would definitely say the lightning orbs were on him. That way, those greedy looks would come to him. These old things were all extremely cunning. This is the 3 treasure primordial essence gourd. However, the bottom is dug out. I believe since this person can dig out the bottom, he must have something on par with it. When I was spirit controlling the gourd, at the entrance. Yemo interrupted. There were 12 lightning orbs, right? There's clearly 24. As soon as the pale-faced man said this, he knew he was tricked by Yemo. He wanted to say 36 and Yemo took all 36, but he spilled the truth because of Yemo's tricks. The value of 36 orbs and 24 orbs were definitely different. 24 was at most a powerful magic artifact, but its power would be much lower than 36. The Black Lake is really spirit-controlled? Someone immediately stared at the pale-faced man desperately. Even Muhan Divine Emperor looked at the man with fervor. Emo didn't run immediately. He knew that even if he did, the news would spill, and if he fled, everything would be pushed onto him. That's right. This is the person whose spirit controlled the Black Lake. The man pointed at Emo. He not only took the bottom of the gourd and also took 24 lightning orbs. Do you know why he ambushed me now? It's because he has the bottom of the gourd, but not the gourd itself. Everyone looked at Emo. Emo got out and saluted with his fists. How long has the Black Lake been at the God Necropolis domain? Why has the gourd and bead not been taken? Let me tell everyone. I was traveling at the God Necropolis domain, and then as I was getting close to it, there was a huge explosion. There was 12 consecutive sounds. I immediately came to the Black Lake but found the Tao Wave Chi in there weaken. I was greedy, so I jumped in the lake without hesitation. The pale-faced man didn't know how Emo entered the lake, so he couldn't argue about this. Only Ji knew Emo was lying, but she didn't expose Emo. Seeing this, Emo knew that everyone believed him, so he said, I heard there was lightning and Tao wave law in the Black Lake. However, when I went in, there was no violent chi and there was a huge hole at the bottom of the lake. The hole was getting bigger, so I went in the hole. Then Emo pointed at this man. This guy probably saw me jump in, so he followed me. However, he was actually faster than me. When I got to the entrance of the gourd, he already started spirit controlling the gourd. I could only spirit control the 24 lightning orbs. However, it wasn't a complete set. Although I spirit controlled the 24 orbs, its power is average. A divine emperor is full of lies. The pale-faced man looked at Emo with scorn. I did go down first, but the hole wasn't getting bigger but smaller. Plus, were you alone? Emo said all that just to bait the man to say this. Emo said calmly, there's enmity between us. You can add whatever you want. Even if you say I have a partner here, it's up to you. The pale-faced man laughed. Your partner is indeed here. She joined up with you to attack me. Do you not dare to admit? You're saying I was staying with Ji? Emo looked at the man with surprise. The pale-faced man immediately realized that Emo was setting up traps. If he said Emo was with someone else, people would believe it, but Ji was from Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Seeing the man's face change, Emo said seriously, little white face, you can rob things but you can't say the wrong things. You robbed my gourd, but there's no bottom, so I don't care. But you're saying I was with the Immortal Goddess. If this gets to the Divine Sect, I won't be the only one involved. She isn't not only an immortal goddess, she's the saint of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Gon Shintong sneered, helping Emo. With this, people started to doubt the pale-faced man. There was no way the saint of Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect would mix with Emo. Ji's face was cold. Emo felt very good. He knew she wouldn't admit she was with him. Seeing the man about to talk again, Emo suddenly took out 12 bluish-gray orbs and said, I got 24 lightning orbs, but I know to share good things just like this Wooding Valley. Since everyone was willing to share with me, so I'll take out 12 orbs to share with everyone. The pale-faced man didn't expect Emo was this generous. He was willing to give out half of what he got. Many people thought Emo was scared and wanted to share a portion to calm everyone's jealousy. You only got 24 lightning orbs. Did 12 explode, and that's why the gourd's bottom was blasted away. One Tao molding divine emperor said. Hearing this, everyone immediately connected this to the 12 explosions. There really might be 12 lightning orbs exploding and blasting the bottom of the gourd. There was 24 orbs in total, and Emo took out 12 in one go. Emo spirit controlled the orbs, and it had nothing to do with everyone here. Emo did things to the extreme. Although most people believed Emo's words, Emo still felt a subtle cold spirit sense scan over him. No matter how subtle it was, Emo still felt it. However, Emo acted like he felt nothing and didn't scan his spirit sense back. Since Tao Friend Yi is willing to share the lightning orbs, I think we should keep it on Tao Friend Yi first. After we break the seal, we'll see who contributed the most. If everyone has one, the lightning orbs would lose instant second original value. Muhan Divine Emperor got up and said without disappointment. He believed Emo that the 24 orbs power was ordinary. Otherwise, Emo wouldn't take out 12. The gourd was good, but it didn't have a bottom. That was no good. Yunli Divine Emperor calmed down now. He looked at the gourd and sighed. This gourd was useless. It was a pity to throw it away, but it was not much use and caused people to be jealous. I don't have much need for this. Before Yunli Divine Emperor finished, Jishi walked up and saluted with her fists. Yunli Qian Bei. Wan Bei is interested in this gourd. Wan Bei is willing to trade it with a purple In Godwell bead. If Qian Bei isn't willing, then never mind. When Jishi was heavily injured and fell into the huge fist hole, she fell into a purple well. After she recovered, she found out that the well was purple In Godwell. After she devoured it, she found a bead there. You have purple In God bead? Of course I'm willing. Yunli Divine Emperor gave the gourd to Jishi without hesitation. The bead was more useful than the well. Can empower God art, rebuild the 6 meridians. Yunli Divine Emperor even suspected that she didn't know the main use of the bead, and that's why she was willing to trade it with him. Emo didn't dare to ask for the gourd. If he did, then people would really suspect it was on him. Seeing she get the gourd, he immediately said, "Everyone, I have a way to find the entrance." People's attention was immediately caught by Emo. Emo said, "I'm a top-level Immortal Formation Grandmaster. With time, I can definitely find the entrance. Even if I can't break it, I can find a way to open it. I only have one condition. I have a blue bottle." Before Emo finished, the pale-faced man immediately turned into a dashing white light and disappeared. He knew what Emo wanted. The blue bottle wasn't Emo's. Emo clearly wanted it to exchange the gourd with Jishi. Seeing the pale-faced man flee before Emo finished, Emo couldn't do anything. Emo could only say, "The reason I ambushed him is because a blue bottle of mine was robbed by this guy. I wanted everyone to help, but this little bastard got away too quickly." Muhan Divine Emperor showed a sliver of guilt on his face. "I didn't take naught but Dao, friend, you don't worry. The next time we see this person, I will definitely help without hesitation." The other Divine Emperors expressed that they were willing to help Emo next time. Emo smiled and saluted with his fists. However, he knew this was all bullshit. When the valley was open and everyone shared the wealth, it would be strange if anyone remembered helping him. He didn't ask for more after the formation entrance was found because he knew it was full of shit. When everyone saw good things, no one would leave anything for him. She was disappointed. She knew that Emo was experienced in formation and might be able to find the entrance. That's why she traded for the gourd, so she could remind Emo to get the blue bottle. However, the man reacted too fast and fled. Emo started to search for the entrance. Everyone waited at the valley. Some people didn't believe Emo was a top Immortal Formation Grandmaster, but they had no choice. As Emo threw down formation flags, he caught some formation waves. When Emo saw the ripple formation flags, he was dazed. He felt this was extremely familiar. He saw new formation means again. It was formation set up using formation rune Dao waves. He had never thought of this before. This wasn't why he was shocked. The reason he was shocked was because he saw the shadow of Great Primordial God rune in these formation runes. Emo immediately realized Great Primordial God rune was left by Wooding Old Man. Emo suddenly regretted. He suddenly didn't want to keep breaking the formation. He would come back here himself later. How much fortune would be in the valley if the owner could use a terrifying god art like the Great Primordial God rune? As soon as Emo paused, Muhan Divine Emperor said, "Dao friend Yi is capable indeed. We searched for a few days and couldn't feel the formation at all, but Emo just used half a day and we felt it. It seems there is a chance to open the valley." Hearing this, Emo knew that this cunning fox saw through his hesitation. If he didn't continue, there would be fighting. A day later, the formation waves were getting clearer and clearer. Even those who didn't understand formation well knew that it would only be a matter of time before Emo found the entrance to the seal. Another day later, Emo stopped setting up formation flags. An extremely faint formation whirlpool appeared before everyone. Emo's face was calm, but his heart wasn't. He knew that this formation whirlpool was formed by many formation runes. It wasn't a real whirlpool. If one didn't understand Great Primordial God rune, it was impossible to break open here. He also felt confused. It didn't seem very hard for him to learn the two great primordial god rune. Why was it left there for countless years and no one could learn it? Now that the formation whirlpool appeared, people knew that if they attacked this, the entrance would soon show. Haha. Dao friend Yi is indeed amazing. Your formation skills are at such level. If it wasn't for you, we would definitely not find this entrance. Let us attack the entrance together. Dao friend Yi can rest of. Of course, don't take out those 12 lightning orbs. It's what you deserve. Mu Han Divine Emperor laughed and was the first to come to the formation entrance. If he didn't have to put in more effort, of course Emo wouldn't. Emo was speechless. He couldn't give away the 12 orbs. They were fake. If someone wanted them, he would give it without hesitation. Emo watched as the 9 Divine Emperors attacked. He knew none of the Divine Emperors would use their real power. They wouldn't even take out their real magic artifact. All sorts of light smashed at the seal. Ripples sprung and even the space was making cracking sounds. Those ripples that were damaged would soon recover. However, with so many people attacking, it soon slowed down. The entrance seemed about to fall under the constant attack of 9 Divine Emperors. One day and night passed, that whirlpool finally made a crack. Then, there was a more terrifying roar. With this roar, an extremely fast shadow dashed out from the whirlpool. This powerful force forced back the Divine Emperors. The Tao-molding Divine Emperor at the front was suppressed by this force and couldn't move at all. Thud! This Divine Emperor cracked open like a ball. Not even his essence spirit was able to escape. Seeing this, everyone's head was tingling. What god beast was this? It was this Yifeng killing a Tao-molding emperor with just one ram. Emo was also shocked. He had released Zissou already. Swoosh! The figure didn't battle with the rest of the Divine Emperor and rapidly disappeared from the entrance. After a long while, people stared at that figure and asked, "What was that?" God Beast. It's a god beast on par with Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Luckily, it didn't do anything to us. Mu Han Divine Emperor said. Then, the rest of the people realized the valley was open and all charged in. Emo was the last. He looked at the direction the shadow disappeared to but calmed down. The most terrifying thing about it was its speed. Seeing everyone go in the valley, Emo charged in without hesitation. Before going in, if you scanned your spirit sense in from outside, it would be pitch black. But after coming in, Emo found it was brighter than the outside. There was a round orb shooting out light that seemed like sunlight. Emo knew this was some formation. What appeared before him was a valley that wasn't spacious. There was not any grass on the sides. It was probably all eaten by the god beast that escaped. The chi here was much calmer than outside, and there were no space fissures. Emo entered the valley rapidly, and in just 5 minutes he saw 3 separate tunnels. Emo chose the left one and sped up. Wooding Old Man quite possibly was the person who left the great primordial god rune. Emo cared about it a lot. If he occult get the heritage, his great primordial god rune would be even stronger. Emo didn't go very long and felt he was followed. Emo wasn't worried. The strongest here was only a Tao actualization Divine Emperor. Even if one was following him, he could get away. As soon as Emo stopped, a purple figure appeared and spoke in a sharp voice. Not bad. You're very vigilant. Emo knew that this person was the man who scanned him with spirit sense. Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. His eyes were very small and was probably stronger than the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor he killed. I already opened the valley, you can go find your things. Why are you following me? Emo said. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said, I know you found the entrance and there's plenty of good things in here, but the valley is very big. I'm in no rush. I do have some private matters with you. Emo looked calmly at this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor and didn't talk. He was thinking about if they would be evenly matched or if he would win. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor continued, other people think you're Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor or above, but only I know you just reached Tao Molding Divine Emperor. I admit your stealth cultivation method is the best. It's extremely natural. If you didn't fight, no one would think you're a Divine Emperor. If you have something to say, then hurry up. I'm busy and don't have time to waste with you. Emo said with impatience. A sliver of sharp ray shot out the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's eyes, but he didn't get angry. He calmed down again and said, "Other people don't believe little white-faced Jian Kuei's words, but I do. You not only have the bottom of the gourd, but you also have a dagger that can dig it out. I'm very excited to see this dagger. I won't rob you. Hand over the dagger and gourd bottom. I will get the gourd from the woman." Emo knew that someone would remember when the little white face said he had a dagger. "Leave your storage ring and piss off," Emo said and released Zissou. He hacked out Crevice God Art. This purple ray sliced across space and didn't gather void lethal force slowly like before. It swept the nearby space and smashed over. The endless lethal force completely bound the space, making the person unable to escape. Compared to Crevice, Yemo's move was tens of times stronger than before. Seeing that Yemo dared to attack him first, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was furious. He waved up a golden rain that shot out countless powerful long nails in the air, blocking Yemo's crevice. Crack. Explosions sounded non-stop. The purple sword ray went from 30 kilometers long to only 3 kilometers long, but the golden nail rain thinned down. After some ear-screeching sound, the nail rain stopped and Yemo's crevice disappeared. Yemo attacked first, but he casually stopped Yemo's crevice. However, he stared at Yemo in shock. Did he see wrong? A Tao molding Divine Emperor stopped his Tai Chi abstruse water nails in one move. Yemo tested that this man was much more fluent in his control over Tao wave laws. Although he just mixed in some simple space law in that move, it crippled under the rain. Before Yemo could recover, the water nail formed tens of long rivers and shto at Yemo. It wasn't actually a river but countless nails that formed a river of nails. The nails were golden-colored before, but when it completely surrounded Yemo, they turned dark red. A corrosive chi came. Yemo's face changed. This nail magic artifact was too evil. Nails were usually small, hidden and sharp, used for ambushing, but this person's nails were dominant, powerful, and wanted to corrode the entire landscape. Even if he forcefully break free from the SPAC, he would be swept by the nail river. If he didn't go into the Golden Page world, Yemo was certain that he would die even with his immortal god body. The 36 lightning orbs could block the river, but Yemo didn't want to use it. It wasn't that he was afraid of this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor finding out he had all 36, but there was another person watching on the side. As the nail rivers fell, the corrosive chi grew stronger. Yemo didn't dare to hesitate and used a huge painting that shot out countless golden rays. These golden beams soon formed golden waves. On top of the waves were tens of golden-robed monks. As soon as they came out, their metal staffs smashed with the nail river, creating a huge explosion. The nail river blasted apart. Black water flew everywhere and nail beams shot, but the dominant force was stopped. When the nails struck the monks, their body soon dimmed and dissipated. However, those monks with more golden shines still stood. Adamantium Great Vehicle Painting. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor called out in shock as his eyes shot out more greed. Seeing Yemo use sword rune again, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately focused. He had seen this before and it almost hacked a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor in half. Although it was an ambush, it didn't mean the sword rune wasn't terrifying. The water needles formed a needle river again, sealing all the space around it. However, the falling mark sword rune's power was on a completely different level to Crevice. Although this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately sealed the space the sword rune was heading to, the twisted sword runes still tore open the nail river. The nail river seemed to have suddenly broke apart from the middle, and the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's figure showed. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's face changed. He knew Yemo's sword rune was powerful but didn't expect it to be able to tear open his nail river. At the same time, he released another towel. With a heavy thud, the two sword runes were stopped by this towel. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor breathed. The next moment, his force rose drastically. He shot out that needle again while the towel formed materialized space that wanted to seal Yemo's escape. Great Primordial God Rune. At the same time, Yemo waved out another two runes. These two runes were very subtle and looked not much different to the other two runes. However, there was a fundamental difference between them. These two runes instantly came before the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. A terrifying dark gray destructive chi swept over. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor shivered as though next moment his body would be ripped apart by the two convoluted ripples. Great Primordial God Rune. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor instantly burned his essence chi and life like crazy when he recognized the Great Primordial God Rune. He broke free from the Great Primordial God Runes and instantly left. Yemo's Great Primordial God Rune didn't improve much, but due to his power increasing, it was much stronger than before. At the same time, this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was much stronger than the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor he killed. He was very decisive in burning his life and fled away. But Yemo clearly saw that when the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor disappeared, he was completely aged. Splurge! The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor left so desperately that he didn't even have time to take his magic artifact. The towel was torn to pieces by Yemo's Great Primordial God Rune, and Yemo took the Tai Chi Abstruse Water Nail into his storage ring. Yemo looked at the direction the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor disappeared and didn't chase. At the same time, he cared more about the Great Primordial God Rune. Two Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately fled upon seeing the Great Primordial God Rune. One could see just how terrifying the Great Primordial God Rune used to be. He had many ways to kill this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. He could use Instant Second and kill him with Great Primordial God Rune. Even when the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor fled, Yemo could use the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination to shoot him. Yemo didn't do any of that because there was someone watching on the side. If he used Instant Second to kill the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, his power would greatly weaken. Luckily, he took the Abstruse Water Nail. It seemed like a good god artifact. Yemo just walked off without caring about the person on the side. When Yemo disappeared, an old man suddenly appeared. It was Muhan Divine Emperor. Muhan stared at Yemo's figure and murmured, "This person is probably on par with me, and he's so calculative. How does he know Great Primordial God Rune? This is too terrifying." The reason he stayed here was because he thought the same as the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. He believed the pale-faced man. Yemo not only had the gourd bottom but also a powerful dagger. As for the 24 lightning orbs, he really didn't care as Yemo took out 12 and he checked. It was really ordinary. Although it was ordinary, he didn't believe Yemo could forge it. He was set on taking out Yemo, but when he found Yemo knew Great Primordial God Rune, he didn't want to mess with Yemo at all. Yemo stopped and took out a jade card. Inside the jade card, it showed Muhan Divine Emperor standing where he was with a surprised face. Yemo sneered and put the jade card away. He knew it was Muhan Divine Emperor lurking in the dark. This guy was a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, otherwise he might force him out. After searching in the valley for a half a day, Yemo was disappointed. There should be many good things here, but he didn't find anything. The layout seemed grand. The deeper you were, the stronger the natural feeling. Luckily, the god spirit chi here was rather dense. Yemo waved out Small Ginseng. "Small Ginseng, help me find if there's god spirit chi here? We can't go back empty-handed." "Don't worry, boss. If there's god spirit range here, I can find it immediately." Small Ginseng dashed out quickly. He would go back and show off to Shadowless later. Shadowless sat under the bitter bamboo and sighed, "Boss is getting more and more unfair. It's always me outside before, but now Small Ginseng goes out more than me." Chiu Rang called Shadowless Big Brother, but he didn't dare to offend Small Ginseng. He loved wine like his life. If he offended Small Ginseng, it would be hard to get wine. But he didn't dare to offend Shadowless either. He comforted Big Brother Shadowless. "You used to go out so often because boss needed your help in fight shut. Now your cultivation level isn't improving and boss are always fighting divine emperors. They can easily annihilate you. Of course you can't go out." Shadowless glared. Chiu Rang immediately became scared and said, "Big Brother Shadowless, if you want to go out more, you have to get stronger. That way, boss would need you the next time he fought." "Improve my mass. I'm just an eater. If I don't have things to eat, how do I get stronger?" Shadowless sagged his head. "Boss, you come from Dragon Race. You probably know about Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit, right?" Chiu Rang carefully said. "I don't know shit. I was kicked out." Don't show off in front of me, kid. You were kicked out too. Shadowless said angrily. Cho Rang smiled. I'm different. I stayed at the dragon race for a while and at least know where the dragon palace is. Seeing Shadowless about to get angry again, Cho Rang immediately said, Big brother Shadowless, Hun Tian Pan dragon fruit is one of the most precious god fruits of the dragon race. It said one can allow an immortal monarch-level dragon to break through. If you eat plenty of it, it's not hard to break through. Cho Rang spoke with his eyes spinning quickly. Shadowless wasn't dumb and immediately stared at him. Your eyes are spinning so quickly? Are you thinking of some scheme? Cho Rang saw this and quickly said, Big brother, I just want you to tell boss to bring us to the dragon race Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit Garden. I just want one. You know where it is? Shadowless' eyes spun and asked. He already considered the entire garden to be his even though he didn't know where it was yet. Cho Rang patted his chest. Boss, as long as we get to the dragon race I can find it. There's also a Dao fruit inside called Heavenly Fruit. It can allow someone to seek Dao. It's the top treasure of the dragon race. Many divine emperors go there to seek one, but they only have Heavenly Fruit tree, and it only produces 3 fruits every 10,000 years. Shadowless laughed and patted Cho Rang's head with his foot. Not bad. Haha. I'll take both of them. Seeing Cho Rang's strange smile, Shadowless shivered and changed his word. I meant boss would have it all. If boss has it, we would have it. Cho Rang, do you think I should tell boss quickly? Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit? Emo repeated in confusion. If it could allow Shadowless to evolve, then of course he was willing to go, but he didn't know where the dragon race was. Just when Emo was going to ask Cho Rang, his spirit sense scanned 2 divine emperors stopping small ginseng. Emo was furious and immediately dashed to small ginseng and glared at these 2 divine emperors coldly. You two. I opened the entrance to the valley and let you guys in, yet you want my immortal pet. People really can't be nice these days. These 2 divine emperors were depressed. They thought there would be plenty of treasure in the valley, but they haven't found anything in here. They only became happy when they saw small ginseng. Small ginseng was Ice Ginseng King and had been with the bitter bamboo and chaos tree for so long. How could these 2 let small ginseng go? They were 1 Dao molding divine emperor and 1 Dao nourishment divine emperor. Both of them knew Emo. They glanced each other and saw small ginseng not move behind Emo. They already believed it was Emo's. So this Ice Ginseng King is Brother Yez. Sorry for the offense. The Dao molding divine emperor said. Emo nodded and he got less angry. After all, small ginseng was extremely precious. It was normal that they wanted it before seeing him. However, the Dao molding divine emperor didn't stop there. He said, I've been stuck at Dao nourishment divine emperor for countless years. I was thinking of getting something good in the valley and break through to Dao nourishment divine emperor, but I find anything here. Emo frowned and thought, what does this have to do with me? The Dao molding divine emperor took out a storage ring and said, Brother Yi, I have 1,000,000 god crystals here. I don't need this if I don't break through. I want to give these to Brother Yi. Thank you. Although I like god crystals, but I don't accept free things. Please go. Emo said. Emo knew how fast small ginseng was. Since he stayed here, it meant there was something strange here. After the 2 were gone, he would ask small ginseng. Hearing this, the Dao nourishment divine emperor frowned before the Dao molding divine emperor spoke. His force rose and Dao rune flowed. Clearly he was very unhappy with what Emo said. This place wasn't Emo's. What right did he have to tell them to go? Emo knew they were unhappy about this. The Dao molding divine emperor smiled. Of course we would leave here. It's no rush. Of course I'm not giving these god crystals for free. I want to negotiate with Brother Yi. Your Ice Ginseng King is already missing an arm. It's probably from a deal with someone. I don't want much. I just want 1 leg of the Ice Ginseng King. Brother Yi. Piss off. Emo couldn't control his anger anymore. This guy was still after small ginseng. Small ginseng was no immortal spirit herb to Emo. He was alive to Emo. The Dao molding divine emperor's face changed and he released a blue spear. I gave you face, but you didn't take it. Now it's not up to you if you want to sell or not. Brother Jingy, watch out for me. I want to see what he has to be cocky for. Emo knew what this guy meant. He was inviting that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor to attack together. Emo attacked with Zissou before he finished. Since they were going to fight, Emo would attack first. After Zissou hacked out 2 twisted sword runes, it fused with Yemo's domain, forming a new space domain binding. Only one sword rune attacked that Tao Molding Divine Emperor. The other rune hung above Yemo's head, twisting with lethal force as though ready to charge at that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. At the same time, 5 lightning spear destruction appeared out of nowhere, carrying heaven-shocking lightning. Emo didn't need to use Great Primordial God rune against a Tao Molding Divine Emperor. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor had seen the terror of that falling mark sword rune. Now that one was about to attack him, clearly he didn't have the effort to mind that Tao Molding Divine Emperor. He immediately released his magic artifact to prevent the rune from falling on him. He was also unhappy. Although he was partner with that Tao Molding Divine Emperor, he should at least ask him before attacking Emo. While the Tao Molding Divine Emperor was bound by domain, he could only barely release his blue spear. Rumble. The twisted sword rune smashed away the spear. Before the Tao Molding Divine Emperor could break free from all of this, the 5 lightning spear destruction came. In the shine of lightning, the Tao Molding Divine Emperor's essence spirit didn't even come out and was pinned to death by the 5 lightning spear destruction. The next moment, the Tao Molding Divine Emperor's storage ring and the 1,000,000 God crystals fell into Yemo's hands. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor stared at Emo with a pale face. If Emo didn't ambush that Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, he would even think Emo was Tao Essence Divine Emperor. He used just one move to kill a Tao Molding Divine Emperor. He could definitely not defend against such means. Brother Yi, I was too rash. Goodbye. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately fled. Emo looked at this and sneered, but he didn't chase the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Seeing that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, Small Ginseng said without Emo needing to ask, "Boss, it's here. There's a natural formation. I just found it and those 2 guys came." Emo rejoiced. The God Spirit range left by Wooding Old Man wouldn't be ordinary. He even hoped that extreme grade God Spirit range would appear. With Small Ginseng leading the way, Emo soon found the entrance to the natural formation, but after Small Ginseng walked a few steps, he could no longer go forward. Small Ginseng lost sense of direction inside the formation too. "Wait!" Emo stopped Small Ginseng. Emo threw out a few formation flags and pointed at the formation runes. Wooding Old Man is very powerful. He found this natural formation and then set a stealth and defense formation inside it. You can't find the way because this formation is set with formation runes. I've just learned such things. Go to the Golden Page world. I can handle this here. After Small Ginseng went in, Emo started to derive Wooding Old Man's formation. He kept throwing out his own formation flags. As time went on, a subtle space passage appeared before Emo. Emo went in and threw out more formation flags. The deeper he went, the more sophisticated Emo felt this formation was. Meanwhile, this formation became clearer. A few days later, there was another crack and the scene before Emo brightened up. The stealth things cleared up. A narrow stairway appeared before him. The stairway was ancient and lead to some unknown place, but the dense God Spirit chi seeping out made Emo realize that this stairway led to the core of the Wooding Valley. It was the source of God Spirit chi. Emo realized that Wooding Old Man purposely made the formation go from easy to hard so that people who came in here could learn. If it was the extremely complex formation, then it would be many years later that he came in. Realizing this, Emo quickly bowed. "Thank you Qian Bei for leaving behind this formation." Wan Bei benefited greatly. Emo sped across the long stairway, and a huge palace appeared before him. There were just a few spirit barrier formations and nothing else. When Emo walked into the palace, he was very shocked. The extremely dense God Spirit chi seeping out made him feel very clear-minded. What shocked him was the God Spirit ranges he saw here. 18 God Spirit range were laid out. Many were joined up with formation flags and formation runes. Clearly, these God Spirit ranges supplied God Spirit chi for the entire valley. Emo walked forward a few steps and more than 10 god spirit ranges made light cracks and turned to dust in this palace. Emo sighed and wasn't too surprised. He felt this was the situation when he came in. Their level was high, but not many could remain after the countless years. Emo waved out a palm wind and swept away all those god spirit range that turned to dust. The remaining 5 god spirit range instantly showed. Emo put his hand on one of them. Pure god spirit chi came. Emo immediately knew this was a top-grade god spirit range. The remaining 5 were used a lot, but top-grade god spirit range was much more useful to him than low-grade god spirit range. Emo sighed. Because this place was sealed, the dissipated god spirit range couldn't replenish instant second god spirit chi. From the placements of these god spirit ranges, Emo guessed that those god spirit ranges that turned to dust might be extreme grade god spirit range. Emo took away the few remaining god spirit range and the palace suddenly dimmed. Then, there were cracking sounds. The palace was collapsing. Emo dashed out of the palace rapidly. Countless dust and stones were stirred up. Emo waved his hand and they formed a huge whirlpool that was soon compressed into a ball. After the palace disappeared, the formation disappeared too. Emo's line of sight cleared up. Emo finally realized that there was nothing in the valley and why the extreme grade god spirit ranges were used up. There was a huge herb mountain in front of him. It was completely lush green and there were god spirit herbs or top immortal spirit herbs everywhere. With this many things growing on this mountain, it would be strange if the god spirit ranges weren't used up. It seemed the best things were on this god herb mountain. He risked his life to go into the Mu Hua God Mountain and got less than 0.1% of what was here. This was definitely Wooding Old Man's herb garden. Emo glanced past these god spirit herb and his eyes eventually set on a blue fruit tree. It had tens of dark gray fruits. This was Emo's first time seeing such fruit. When his spirit sense landed on the fruits, he almost called out in shock. This was definitely a Dao fruit. The powerful Dao wave and law chi made Emo very certain. Emo felt a sense of familiarity from the fruit. There were subtle runes on the fruit that contained endless Dao wave law. It was the Dao wave law of Great Primordial God rune. Emo suppressed his excitement. This was definitely the Dao fruit Wooding Old Man used to learn Great Primordial God rune. If he got these Dao fruits, his knowledge of Great Primordial God rune would rise to an unbelievable level. No wonder his Great Primordial God rune was hard to break through. It seemed he needed these dark gray fruits. Emo immediately threw out formation flags to take away this god spirit herb mountain, but he soon found he couldn't take it away. When a few figures appeared in Emo's spirit sense, he became worried. He could tell people were drawn over by the god spirit chi and god spirit herbs here. Emo couldn't care about taking this entire mountain. He immediately dashed to the top and dug up this tree and sent it to his golden page world. At the same time, a few figures landed at the foot of the mountain. They saw what Emo did, but no one cared. They started to take the god spirit herbs. Emo did the same. But before digging even 0.1%, the god spirit herb mountain suddenly cracked. A destructive chi released. Violent heaven law spewed out of the crevice. Emo stood at the top and immediately felt things weren't right. He dashed and left the mountain. At the same time, the other divine emperors felt this too and all dashed away. At the same time everyone left, the entire god spirit herb mountain turned to dust. This was so close. Emo would have been locked on by the destructive chi if he was just a little slower. Wooding Old Man was really strange. He didn't give the god spirit herb mountain away and instead destroyed it. This might be because he took the god spirit range, but Emo wasn't disappointed. He received enough from here. He looked around and saw the stealth formations from before become useless. No wonder these people saw the god spirit herb mountain. Brother Yi benefited quite a lot from this. Yunli Divine Emperor looked at Emo and said. Those disappointed divine emperors gazed at Emo because Emo dug a Dao fruit first before they started collecting god spirit herbs. They at most collected just over 10 and the mountain exploded. No one knew what tree Emo took, but they could guess it was something significant. Yunli Divine Emperor and another Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor subtly sealed off Emo's front and back. Emo sneered. They were dreaming to want his Dao fruits. No matter how much he got, he wasn't going to take out one. It's nothing. I just happened to see an ordinary peach tree, and I like peaches so I dug it out, Emo said. Because Emo took out the 12 lightning orbs, everyone thought Emo was scared of trouble, so they weren't worried Emo wouldn't give it out. Seeing Emo not bring the Tao fruit free up, Yunli Divine Emperor's face sunk. He said nothing, but the other Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said coldly, Emo, everyone opened the valley together and we got nothing here. Since you found the God Herb Mountain and got the most precious thing inside, you should share it with everyone. Emo was furious. He found the entrance and he opened the place. This bastard didn't think about who gave him the opportunity to get the God Spirit herbs he just collected. One really couldn't be too timid. Just because he took out the 12 orbs before, these people were certain they could take him on. Emo suppressed his anger and looked at the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Tao friend, do you have a dual cultivation Tao partner? What does this have to do with the God Spirit Herb Mountain? I'm only going to ask you once, are you going to take it out or not? The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's tone grew more serious as his powerful Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor force rose. Then that means you do? Can you take out your dual cultivation Tao partner out and share her around? Emo sneered. Not every Divine Emperor had a Tao partner, but talking about this in this way was the greatest insult to every Divine Emperor. With this, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor could no longer hold in his anger. An ancient Qin was released. At the same time, he struck out tens of sound chords. He already considered Emo dead. He not only had a Tao partner, and she was also master of Qin like him. His Tao partner was the most beautiful in his eyes and had same importance to him as his cultivation. He released his God art without hesitation. Strung, the chord sounds attacked rapidly, cutting the space between him and Emo into pieces. Emo was in this space and there was no more life force left. One could imagine that once the space shards hit Emo would become shards too. Emo didn't like to waste time talking. Since this man attacked first, he sliced out with Zisu and punched. Fist God art shatter space and crevice attacked at the same time, forming multiple lethal force whirlpools while sweeping some of the space shards. This force struck the space shards, creating a huge explosion. Essence Chi burst and space rattled. Zisu and the Qin clashed together. A string cord was severed by Zisu and Zisu was flicked away by the cord and couldn't continue attacking this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. The powerful clash of space made Emo and that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor retreat a few steps each. But everyone could tell that, in that quick clash, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was at the lower hand. Emo sighed. His Zisu was too low level. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be one string breaking in that clash. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately knew he was no match for Emo and stared at Yunli Divine Emperor. Yunli Divine Emperor sneered and suddenly saluted with his fists. I suspected that Emo took a Tao fruit tree. Those who want to share see me out. Then, he grabbed a green mist and stopped in front of Emo. He glanced his eyes across the other Divine Emperors, especially Muhan Divine Emperor. If Muhan Divine Emperor stood out, there would be two Tao Actualization Divine Emperors here. Emo wouldn't be able to get away no matter what. Unexpectedly, Muhan Divine Emperor didn't look at him and just looked down as though in contemplation. Yunli Divine Emperor immediately frowned. Emo was just an solo cultivator. He didn't understand why Muhan Divine Emperor had such attitude. Just at this moment, another sneer sounded. A purple-robed, thin-eyed Divine Emperor got out and sealed off Yemo's other path. This Divine Emperor was almost killed by Emo and had a powerful nail magic artifact. Yunli Divine Emperor rejoiced. He wasn't afraid of unable to beat Emo, but was afraid Emo would escape. Now that them three-cornered Emo definitely wouldn't be able to escape. It was easy to take Emo down, but it wasn't easy to share things. If everyone attacked, it was fine, but he didn't believe those people on the side would be calm after they got the good things. Shameless things, Gan Shintong, will stand by Brother Yi. I want to see who dares to attack. Seeing Yunli, a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, ask for help against Emo, Gan Shintong couldn't resist it anymore. Seeing this, Yanlai Divine Emperor's heart sunk. There was a Ji Shi on the side who didn't speak. He didn't doubt the pale-faced man. He always thought there was something between Yemo and Ji. Now that Ji didn't speak, she quite possibly would help Yemo when they fought. With Muhan Divine Emperor acting dumb, Yunli Divine Emperor was no longer certain he could take out Yemo. He looked at Ji and Muhan before sneering goodbye. The other two Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor saw Yunli Divine Emperor go and left without daring to say a word. Cowards! Gan Xintong sneered at them in contempt. Muhan Divine Emperor saw this and saluted with his fists to Yemo. I'm going too. We'll meet again if fate calls for it, Brother Yi. Yemo sneered. He knew why Muhan Divine Emperor felt threatened by him. This old guy wanted to take him out but was scared his old bones couldn't handle his great primordial god rune. Thank you for helping Sister Xintong, Yemo said. Gan Xintong smiled. I haven't heard people call me sister in years. It's fresh but I like it. Yemo, it seems that Muhan feels threatened by you. Yemo nodded. That guy is a hypocrite. He originally wanted to ambush me but was scared by me and thus didn't attack. Gan Xintong didn't ask about the details and just said, then I'm going first. Be careful. No one was dumb as Dao Actualization Divine Emperors. She believed the pale-faced man a bit. She might have some relations to Yemo, and now that she didn't want to disturb them. Sister Xintong, are you going to the life-crippling restriction grounds? Yemo quickly saked. Gan Xintong said casually, my cultivation level is too low to go there. I suggest you don't go now too. If you don't reach Dao Essence Divine Emperor, it's 90% of death going there. You wouldn't even be able to pass the life-crippling bridge, much less the forbidden grounds. I have to go elsewhere to seek Dao Essence opportunity. Once I reach Dao Essence, I will go check it out. Yemo took out that Tai Chi abstruse water nail to Gan Xintong. Sister Xintong, I don't have much but I have quite some magic artifact. I don't have any use for this, you can have it. Great magic artifact. Gan Xintong's spirit sense scanned the nail casually and immediately knew it was extraordinary. Thank you, Brother Yi. I lack such a magic artifact. Gan Xintong was straightforward and she liked this magic artifact so she accepted it. After taking it, she glanced at Ji and then saluted with her fists. I'm leaving. We'll meet again in the God Necropolis domain. Then, Gan Xintong turned to leave. Yemo knew that Ji definitely had business with him. He had business with her too. The gourd was in her hands. He only had a gourd bottom. If he got the entire gourd, he would have a truly powerful magic artifact. Let's do a deal. I'll still take you to the life-crippling forbidden grounds and you give me the gourd bottom. If we see Jian Kuei on the way, help me rob the blue bottle. She saw Yemo look at her and said. Yemo sneered. I have to give the gourd bottom to you and help you get back the blue bottle and all I get is to stay with you, right? Are you very aromatic? I need to stay with you? I'm not chasing you. Why should I let you have all the benefits? I said I'll take you to the life-crippling forbidden grounds. Ji's face looked bad. Sorry, I can go there myself. I don't need your help. Yemo said. There was a sliver of scorn in her eyes. You were using an excuse to stay with me before. Why don't you keep using excuses? You said you didn't know where it was, but now you know. You really change your words quick. Yemo couldn't be bothered explaining Kong Chengtian to him and said, Ji, give me the gourd and you can say what conditions you have. Ji wobbled and disappeared in a white light. Her voice remained, bring Jian Kuei's blue bottle and you can exchange for the gourd. Otherwise, no deal. In a short while, this place became cold and desolate again. Yemo didn't care. He was going to find a place and check out that gray runed fruit to see if it really helped him cultivate Great Primordial God Rune. He had tested the Great Primordial God Rune's power many times. With his current power, he can use Great Primordial God Rune to surely take out a Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor. If this Dao fruit could improve his Great Primordial God Rune to another level, then he wouldn't even fear Dao Actualization Divine Emperor. Great Primordial Dao Rune Fruit. Yemo opened his eyes and looked at his empty palm. He was enlightened by that fruit and it disappeared. He learned that the fruit was called Great Primordial Dao Rune Fruit. For those who didn't cultivate the Great Primordial God Rune, the fruit was worthless, but after using this Dao fruit, Yemo could clearly feel his God Rune become clearer. It was still 2 runes, but its power was completely different to before. This fruit was indeed for cultivating the great primordial god rune. Emo was very happy. He planted that fruit tree into the golden page world. The tree had 56 fruits in total. If he used them all, he believed his great primordial god rune would become an extremely powerful great god art. Emo spent a year or so using the great primordial god rune fruit. Emo didn't use time formation disc as he feared it would affect him learning the Tao laws inside. Then, on the way to the life-crippling forbidden grounds, Emo kept practicing his god art while improving his great primordial god rune. His god art and great primordial god rune improved rapidly. It couldn't let him reach Tao nourishment divine emperor, but the powerful feeling of the god art settled Emo's mind. He just used 5 great primordial god rune fruits and stopped. Before he increased his cultivation level, using more of the fruits would at most make his great primordial god rune a little stronger. Couldn't help him form more runes. This was a waste. While Emo was still in God Necropolis domain, Emo was flying rapidly in a place in Wenju heaven. When the first immortal city appeared in Emo's spirit sense, she was extremely excited. She finally saw her first immortal city after immortal ascension. She didn't even know how she ascended. She just remembered she was in the west extreme state Sand River and suddenly felt the chi of immortal ascension. She could only leave a messenger flying sword and was swept away by the immortal ascension spirit cloud. Then, she appeared on this ruin. She suspected it was an ancient battleground. Luckily, she had experienced all sorts of things on Luoyu continent and wasn't scared. She just left the ruins immediately and flew for a few days before seeing her first city. When Emo saw this city, she immediately became happy. She hadn't seen an immortal yet since immortal ascension. Since there was a city here, there must be immortals. She could ask them about the immortal realm. But as she came near the city, she felt more worried. This immortal city was lifeless. The immortal realm was different to the cultivation realm. In the cultivation realm, she had enough power to deal with anything, but in the immortal realm, her power was at the very bottom. When she came outside the city, she could still see the world's Bing Cheong immortal city. There was not a single person at the city gates. Emo carefully neared the city gates. The city gates' restrictions were wide open, but the dried-up blood gave Emo a very bad feeling. When Emo walked in, she was completely dazed. This was truly a dead city. She didn't see a single live person. The streets and shops were covered in dried blood. The immortal shops and towers were all ravaged. Emo subconsciously shivered when the lifeless chi came striking her. Her spirit sense couldn't even scan 0.1% of the immortal city, but there was not a single person here. This was too terrifying. Who were they all killed by? Was this caused by war? But soon, Emo knew that it wasn't caused by a war. It was something sudden. The reason she made such judgment was because she not only saw some storage rings on the streets but also some scattered immortal crystals. These immortal crystals were much higher level than the low-grade immortal crystals she used before. She didn't need to ask to know they were top-grade immortal crystals. This immortal city was very eerie. Emo had been to many eerie places but still felt chills down her spine. She quickly picked up the immortal crystals and the storage rings. This made her extremely uncomfortable, but there were this many storage rings and immortal crystals here. She didn't want to just leave like that. These were all CNM resources. After half a day, Emo collected more than 100 storage ring and then quickly left the city. She believed if she stayed there she would soon pick up more than 10,000 storage rings, but when she was young, Song Yangzhu taught her that people needed to know content or they would eventually suffer due to their greed. Another reason was that she felt uncomfortable staying in this city. It was as though the next moment, she would become a part of the dead chi here. After leaving this immortal city, she immediately released her flying magic artifact and sped off. Not long after she left, she felt this shiver all over her body. A powerful killing intent rose from behind her. She hadn't even converted her cultivation essence yet. She couldn't fly fast at all. That terrifying lethal force made Emo feel that if she touched it, she would be dead for certain. Under such terrifying force, Emo didn't dare to keep running and quickly landed. At the same time, she scanned her spirit sense out. She saw a huge bug open its mouth. The bug was extremely disgusting. It had countless legs and 9 heads. The sticky liquids dripped from the bug's 9 heads, making Yimo feel disgust. She almost vomited. The bug just opened instant second mouth and the city immediately turned to ruins. Yimo felt a dent appear at the city. Even her spirit sense was devoured by that dent. She finally realized why the place she ascended to was in ruins. It was devoured by this 9-headed bug. Yimo wasn't dumb. She knew she was in danger. There was no way that she could hide from this 9-headed void-devouring bug with her little cultivation level. If that bug sucked, she wouldn't be able to live. She wasn't afraid of death, but being devoured by such bug was too disgusting. The 9-headed void-devouring bug just devoured everything in the city and then opened instant second mouth towards Yimo. The powerful space collapse made Yimo fall into despair. She couldn't stop this at all. Before she could show her despair, a 30 kilometers long dark red beam smashed over. Yimo felt the suction force disappear from her, and then she saw a gray figure arrive with that long sword ray. Seeing this sword light, the bug immediately swept into a whirlpool and disappeared. The gray figure chased down too. Yimo didn't even see who saved her. She was dazed, but such power. Both the bug and gray figure had heaven-shocking power. Even if her power increased by 10 million times, she was probably no match.